All right, welcome. Where's that round of applause, Georgie? I thought that let's get excited. All right, there it is. Without that round of applause, how do people know that we're live? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, to the SOSCAST, the sexiest financial show in the world. This is where finance meets romance. We got the finance, we got the romance, we got a bromance going on with me and you guys out there in internet land. But thank you, welcome to the show. If this is your first time joining us, let me introduce myself. My name is Adam Sosnick. You can call me Soz. My friends call me Soz. Nat calls me Sauce.
Saucy.
Too much sauce. But also thank you to our friends who continue to watch the show week in and week out. But as you know, my main objective, my main goal, my main purpose is to help you guys out there get paid, laid, and do it your way. Is there anything else better in life than making money, having the girl of your dreams or man of your dreams, and doing what you want in life? That's the purpose of this show.
Hey.
So we have an all-star panel, especially the gentleman over here. Let me introduce these guys in a second, and then we'll also meet our ladies. Put the phones away, ladies. We're on that. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. Let me go over a couple topics that we're going to be discussing today. We'll meet our guests, and then we have a party to get to later tonight.
Hey.
Because it's not just value, it's valuetainment. So we like to entertain, we like to party, we like to have a good time. So for those of you that are watching that are lucky enough to get invited, capacity is limited to this party tonight, as we're having an amazing party at the Soho House in Miami Beach for the biggest event of the year in Miami. It's called Art Basel, if you're not familiar with it. It's going on. These gentlemen flew in for the event. They're going to have the time of their lives, meet some nice ladies or two, and head back to their respective individual households in Medellin in New York, in the Diamond District in New York. That's right, Max. So here's some of the things that we're going to be discussing today. We'll meet our guests. So there's a new dating rule about how much money women should demand a man spends on them before they sleep with them. So we'll have that conversation. Bitcoin booming again. All the Bitcoin enthusiasts and Bitcoin maximalists are sort of coming out of the woodworks. I exchanged some emails with the infamous Michael Saylor, and he's like, we're back, baby. I'm like, all right, hopefully come to the party tonight. Shout out to Michael Saylor. We'll talk about that. Gold is also at all-time high. If there's anybody that can talk about gold, it's these gentlemen right here. Financial expert extraordinaire, Susie Orman, who I would basically say she's sort of like the female Dave Ramsey, maybe not. She warns of the looming financial pandemic that is coming in the United States, just as the credit card debt for the American consumer has reached $1 trillion. So that's pretty interesting what's going on there. We'll have that conversation. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful, said this is how much money you need in the bank to feel secure. The number may shock you when you hear it. This is the type of money that George just sort of leaves as a tip sometimes for great service. But it's in the millions. We'll leave it there. Popping the question, we'll get Max's opinion on how much to spend on engagement rings and certain jewelry for the ladies. We saw how much Jeff Bezos spent on his new lady, Lauren Sanchez, and how much a regular dude spent on his lady, but his proposal went viral. Comedian Whitney Cummings learned firsthand what it's like to be the man in the relationship, and she wants to go back to being the female. And if we have time, we'll break down the difference between being a sugar daddy and a sugar mama. With that being said, let's meet our guests. We'll give a couple of quick shout outs. There's a book that we're going to need to discuss that I want to get put it on your mind, encourage you guys all to get. We'll do that in a second. But thank you guys. Welcome to the show. We're going at a rapid pace. But let me introduce the gentlemen that we're lucky enough to have on the show today. George Gammon is in the house, financial expert. You host an amazing conference, the Rebel Capitalist.
Yeah.
Where is that these days? What's going on?
Orlando.
In Orlando. When is it?
May 31st, I believe, through June 2nd is the next one.
Okay, coming up. Well, we'll discuss that. You've seen him on all sorts of podcasts. I would basically say he's probably, if you want to learn about money, macroeconomics, you want to understand free market capitalism, not just capitalism.
That's right. That's right. Adam.
Tell me about that. You got to check out George's channel. Is it just George Gammon on YouTube, or was it called?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. George Gammon, and then the Rebel Capitalist channel.
The Rebel Capitalist. Highly recommend it to all you guys out there that want to get better with money. Check that out. But thank you for being here. And Max is in the house.
Max.
Tracks NYC.
What's
He's
up,
lighting
guys?
up the internet. He's selling gold. He's a jeweler. He's a showman, people would say. He's a lot nicer in person than you see on the internet. Can I give you at
Okay.
least that
yeah,
credit?
sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, do you want
I
to?
try to be nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But sometimes you're yelling at people on the internet.
Well, you know, people have a take of me that isn't who I actually am, and then they cross wires, and then shit happens. You know what I'm saying? So
you know,
I gotta
so
take
you
care
know
of
they
business.
say,
What can I say?
fuck around and find out.
That's
And
right.
Some people are finding out, but Natalia over here was actually a huge fan of yours the last time you were on the show.
Yeah.
You were here about a year ago.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
just right here, and I had a fantastic time.
Yeah.
As soon as you invited me, I said, absolutely, I'd love to be back here, and here I am.
There he is, baby.
My favorite is when you hide the goal. You're like, if you're in New York, and look where I'm putting it. I'm like, I'm trying to fly to New York. Let me see if I can find
He's
it.
doing scavenger hunts for gold out there.
I love it.
It's
I
sort of
love
like
it.
Easter, but with gold. I
Yeah.
love
That's
that.
right. There you go.
But gentlemen, thank you for being here. I'm going to pick your brain a lot about what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the markets, what's going on in gold, what's going on in Bitcoin. But we also have some lovely ladies on the panel.
Yes.
A first-timer, a return guest who deviated from her plans to get here, and then a lady who's been on the show once or twice. You might recognize her. Natalia Del Valle's in the house.
Howdy.
I always say this. She's the baddie with the Jamaican patty with the fatty, but you don't see it because she's sitting down.
Gosh.
But I must do my intro that I always do for the guys. You know, this is what men do for women, but women will never do for a man. When I met Nat, I found her living in a trash can. She was homeless, penniless, toothless, shoeless. Look at her now. We cleaned her up. We throw her in the shower. We put some makeup on her. She didn't even need too much makeup because look at that smile. She's got a beautiful face.
Very
But now-
charismatic. Very
She's
charismatic.
always had good teeth, but now look at her. She's down to 7 toes because we got her toes listed on onlytoes.com.
This guy.
But she's
He
out
takes
here.
the money.
I take that money just like a toe pimp, like a toe pimp will. But Nat, thank you for being here. Thank you for coordinating everything. Before we meet the ladies, anything that you want to address?
Yes. Well, first off, I didn't come homeless, shoeless, penniless. I came from a very good family. I
You actually do come from an amazing family.
I came from a great family.
Which is the weirdest part about
Sold
finding
life
you
insurance with my
homeless,
family.
penniless. But I love your parents. They were
Yes.
here yesterday celebrating your sister's birthday.
Birthday.
Shout out to Marvin. Shout out to Dee.
Shout out to Brianna.
I don't know how they. Shout out to the birthday girl, Brianna. Nat has a sister, 2 sisters, y'all.
Yes.
That are, I would say, don't be offended, even prettier.
Oh, come on.
Shots fired.
No,
Okay.
but you're a 10, so they're 12s, right?
That's not how you count one of the 10 meters.
Well, you got 7 toes, so don't worry about that.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead. What do you like the people to know before we
Aside
meet our
from
guests?
that, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Today we're going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking about gold. We're going to be talking about different things. I'm excited to learn today. I think today's going to be that episode. So make sure you guys do all that fun stuff. And let's get the party started.
Let's get the party started. The lady to your left, to your right, if you're watching the screen, Janelle
Yes.
is in the house.
Yes,
Born and raised in
thank-
Miami. Tell us your story. What do you do for work, and what's your relationship status?
So I come from media. I was a news anchor. I was also the vice president of operations for a radio and TV station. I do enjoy media, but prior to media, I was in healthcare for a very long time
Nice.
in operations, and I am single.
Single. Where in media did you work?
As far in Doral,
In
Florida.
Doral. What
Yes.
station?
OVM Global Network.
OVM.
Yes, it's a Christian radio TV station.
Let's all take a minute to pray for a second for,
Yes.
for the future of mainstream media and cable media, because the internet is basically disrupting that. Well, thank you for being here. You still live in Miami?
I do.
Okay. The one and only Tiffany Fox is here. Tiffany, we're not going to focus on the past. We're going to focus on the present and the future because
Yeah.
you're doing great.
I have a pretty sweet job, not gonna lie.
Tell us your job. What's going on?
So I do video editing, and because I've done it for like 15 years, I'm a closet nerd. Well, I guess I'm not so in the closet anymore. But I do the video editing, I do videography, I've done photography for about 15 years, and I do graphic design as well for my day job.
And you're doing something with our buddy Troy Francis.
Yeah, and then, I decided because so many people are asking me about sex and stuff, I'm like, well, screw it, I'm going to become an intimacy coach. So we're doing magnetic sexual confidence. We've done a couple webinars. We're going to be doing some more. And they've gotten pretty spicy.
Yeah, how spicy?
One of the webinars I talked about not so shameful things.
Oh.
I don't know. People say it's shameful. I just say it's living my best life.
Okay. All right, well, just leave it right there with the spiciness level. This isn't Hot Ones on the Wing Challenge, but congratulations for all the success you're having. Last but not least, this guy does not like shout-outs. So we won't focus too much on him, but Humberto, the birthday boy, is in the house.
Humberto.
Friend of the show, producer extraordinaire.
Happy birthday.
His good friend Javier Milei just became the president of Argentina. He is a libertarian. He doesn't like the left. Let's just say, leave it that way.
Not at all. We're taking over.
But we're taking over.
Yeah.
But happy birthday, bro. You're going to be on the show today. That guy is as red pill as they come. So, happy birthday to you, Humberto.
Thanks, Adam.
Any special notes for the people out there or for your wife?
Just behave in general. That's it.
Just behave, and dinner better be ready when you're home.
Yeah, I'm ready.
That's right. This guy taught me that every time he's home, the dinner is on the table. One time, he came home, dinner wasn't there. He looked at her, took the keys, did a 180, and left.
No
That's it. He
shouting.
didn't have to say a word.
No.
Not a single word.
He had 2 dinners the next night. Just put it that way.
100%. Dinner
Sometimes,
and breakfast.
stoicism and not having to say anything.
Do you get dinner?
Yeah, my girl can't cook. So she waits for me to get home and order the food. But she's doing other things.
I'm sure.
With that being said, a couple housekeeping items, and then we're going to start the show. If you're not familiar with the legend that is Patrick Bet-David, he's my, first and foremost, my friend, mentor, CEO, founder, president of Valuetainment. He just came out with his latest book. This dropped 48 hours ago. It's called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. I got an edition about 2 weeks ago before it dropped, about halfway through. Freaking awesome book. This guy, I think if he plays his cards right, he's going to figure out this thing called life and business. I don't know. Something tells me he's going to do okay. But his last book, Your Next 5 Moves, was a Wall Street Journal #1 bestseller. His next book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, I think is going to even double the success of that because everything that he's done has basically doubled in the last couple of years. We put a link in there if you want to get that book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely. I would recommend, if you have not read Your Next 5 Moves, get that going. That's a great book to basically get started at the end of the year for business planning. We're doing a business planning workshop, next Friday if you want to get your business on track. Get in touch with the people at Valuetainment. You can email just info@Valuetainment. They'll get you in touch with the right person. But we believe in strategy, business planning, sequencing, your next 5 moves. And then after that, you can choose your enemies wisely. I got to figure out who my enemy is, Nat.
Oh.
Sometimes it's
title,
you.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
It's an amazing title.
Really? Yeah.
It's an amazing title.
Clever
But we went
title,
through it.
clever cover.
Business planning for the audacious few. Sometimes Nat's my frenemy. But today, you're just my friend.
But I always got your back of me.
That's right. That's right. Let me pull this knife out real quick. Thanks,
Got your
Nat.
back.
Appreciate that.
I
Here
hold
you
it
go.
for you.
At some moment, just make it rain here.
Okay, I'll do
But check that out. Choose your enemies wisely. If you were invited to the party tonight, PBD will be there, as well as a whole host of amazing guests and beautiful women and everyone that we've curated for this amazing event. And we're going to be discussing choosing your enemies wisely if you give us a hard time at the door for the party. Last but not least, if you're not familiar with something that we've created, you should check this out for sure. We've created a business consulting app called Minect. Minect, where you can connect by the minute with experts. The more and more I'm thinking about this is be perfect for you guys. Where you can get expert advice instantly. For all the experts out there, let me give 2 messages here. For the experts and the people that need expert advice, I'm sure if you're an expert, I'm sure if you have influence, I'm sure if you're famous, your DMs are flooded, your LinkedIn is flooded, your email, your inbox is just overflowing. And the problem is everyone's reaching out and everyone wants 5 minutes of your time, but 5 minutes turns into 20 minutes, 20 minutes turns into another email, and now you're basically giving out free advice to people because you love people and you want to help people, but you're not monetizing anything. So Minect enables experts to monetize their time. How does this help the general person out there? Well, now, if you're paying, and every expert can basically name their own price, how much it costs to get a text message response, to do a video call with somebody, to get a video response from that. You name your own price, so whatever it is, let the market set its price. Free market capitalism. And you can speak with all these experts, and there's pretty much 100% success rate because your messages will get read because everyone has skin in the game and they want to make some money and also help the people that are messaging them. So check out Manect.
Just like
And
OnlyFans.
It's like OnlyFans,
For
but for
business.
business.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like that.
Come
Hey,
on.
Thank you for that. I would say maybe it's more like Cameo for business. We're not trying to OnlyFans it up, but hey, money talks, bullshit walks, Mac. Thank you for that. But check out Manect. And who's the top guy? I don't even know who it is these days. Who's the number one guy in Manect, Humberto? Is there like a ranking system?
There is a ranking system.
Yeah, can you pull that up? Who is it these days?
Let me see it.
Yeah, let me see who that is these days. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, we added a lot of new people.
Yeah, we've added a lot of new people. Terrell Owens just came on.
Yeah.
Brad Lee just came on. We're going to get George Gammon on soon.
Yeah.
PBD's on. There's the featured experts. Okay, who has the most consultations?
Mr. Adam
Oh, it's me.
Sauce.
Oh, amazing. I'm out there. But I will say that I do charge a little bit less than PBD. Andrew Tate's on there. Tristan Tate's on there. Sammy the Bulgravano's on there. Michael Francis is on there. A lot of friends, a lot of people that are on there have been on the show. Amazing way to connect with experts and get your answers, that your questions answered. So check out Manect and check out Choose Your Enemies Wisely. With that being said, let's start the show. So we talked about a lot of the topics we're going to be discussing today. Maybe we just put this up here like this.
Yeah.
Nat, see if you can help me out and balance
Sure.
that a girl. So I didn't want to go straight into the finance. I wanted to kind of have a story that sort of encompasses everything: money, dating, relationships. I want to start with that.
Okay.
And then once we address that, we'll get into some more of the headier stuff, the gold stuff, the expertise stuff. We'll get the ladies to weigh in on this. But here's a story that is trending right now that I think fits exactly what we do in the SOSCAST, where finance meets romance. And basically it is this. There's a new dating rule, a dating trend that says that women should not sleep with men unless they've spent how much? $2,000 on them. Now, not like a call girl or not anything like that, on dates, on dinners, on gifts, a reward type system. So $2,000 is the going rate for sex with women. And these are not prostitutes. These are not OnlyFans girls.
Right.
These are just normal, nice girls
Sure they are.
out there in the marketplace. Max already has an issue
Look
with
at
this.
that.
So it's obviously sparking some debate, demanding that men pay this $2,000 sort of ransom for that ass. A sex columnist said that if a man's libido can withstand that many dates, then he's a keeper. So it's the woman basically saying, how do we determine if a man is a keeper? A lot of this basically was tracked down to what Joe Rogan had to say about something that he calls PNS, not PMS. PNS stands for, wait for it, drum roll, earmuffs if you're younger than 18, post-nut syndrome. So we'll talk about that. Tiffany loves that one. But can we go to that article real quick, Humberto, so everyone has a full effect of what's going on here?
Yeah, I think you.
By the way, guys, pan out on the shots here. Dating rule 1 says women shouldn't sleep with men unless they've spent $2K on them. Scroll down. There's actually a video of the woman who was basically saying this. Hit the volume.
Volume is, yeah.
$1,000 on me. And like she told us, me and my friend, she was like, before I sleep
Turn
with
this
a
up,
guy,
guys.
he has to spend $2,000 on me in like dates. And I was like, what the that's crazy. She was like, well, yeah, like, that basically adds up to like, a bunch of nice dinners, like getting my cars, like maybe a present.
This girl will put out on a couple shots. Good for her. She's a little more what I'm used to, but she said the post-nut syndrome. We'll talk about that with Joe Rogan. But then here's the actual final advice right after Joe Rogan right here. Keep going. Random Asian couple discussing sex. We'll see about that.
Really get that
But here it is right there. Money aside, Hawkins suggests the typical no sex window is 3 to 5 dates. So 3 to 5 dates is the recommended number of dates that a woman should go on
in like dates
before they sleep with a man. Cue up that Joe Rogan post-nut syndrome situation. We'll play that in a second. So let me start with the gentleman, then we'll get the ladies' take on this. George, when you hear this situation, you're a financial expert. You also live in a beautiful place, Medellin, Colombia. So you're around, let's just say, some nice behaved women. What's your take on this $2,000 approach?
Well, it's interesting because what I talk about on YouTube is all quantifying stuff, right? And I don't know that burning true desire for another person can be quantified. So for me personally, I would never look at some sort of dollar amount. Do I like the person? Do I not like the person? That would hold a lot more weight.
Like a normal human being, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. And also too, I think that if you're in that guy's position, you want to go out with some gal that's actually going to want to hang out with you for you. And if she's looking at the relationship or potential relationship through the lens of some sort of monetary value, I think it's doomed right from the beginning. So, depending on what you want from the relationship, but it might be time to move on. Also, I think guys should put themselves into a position where they have so many options that they're not that desperate to sleep with some gal that they go out with. If you've got a lot of different people that are kind of knocking at your door, so to speak, then you don't have to be picky choosy. You don't have to be in that situation of desperation, and then you don't have to worry about gals that are trying to hit you up for money.
Yeah, exactly. The sugar baby complex. Max, I know that this is something that you probably have very strong feelings about.
Yeah.
Because you're a traditional man.
Well, first and foremost, this girl that's talking about, $2,000, this and that. If you really knew her personal life, you would find out most likely that she's a hypocrite. That's the nicest word that I could use. You know what I'm saying? So she's really like, $2,000, but if you took a peek through her curtain, you'd see her, and doing God knows what. Second of all, say you went down this, path of spending $2,000, and then what? And then she still doesn't want to sleep with you. What do you do then? You're like out $2,000, and you're in this situation.
You have to invoice her. That's just how it works.
It's a nasty way of going about it, and maybe 2,000 pesos. Would be more
which is like $20. That's how much you'll
Yeah.
spend. But here's the problem I have with this thing, and then I want to get the ladies' opinion. I'm going to break some news right now. I don't know how to say this, but I'm not a virgin, guys. Okay? I've been around the block. I've never in my life spent this amount of money before any sort of sexual encounter.
Yeah.
Now, that might sound a little, not shocking, but, hookup culture is real. I do understand the premise that the ladies are coming from here, that there does need to be some sort of vetting system, because we'll discuss what this post-nut syndrome is. For any guy that's been out there, especially a guy that has options, sometimes you're like, it's all about the hunt. It's all about the conquest. Once you kind of have it, you're kind of out the door. So there is that. I do understand that. But I think the advice here for women and men is whether it's $2,000 or whether it's 10 dates, whatever it is, have some sort of strategy or some sort of methodology rather than just sort of participating in hookup culture, because I think hookup culture is a lot worse for women. Yeah. So, they say that a key that can open up any lock is a master key, but a lock that opens up for any key is just a shitty lock. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of women out there that, to put it bluntly, are just some shitty locks. Right. And they think that they can do what men do and just sleep around and have hookup culture as if it's going to have zero negative effects on their life. But a lot of times it does. So, ladies, when you hear this $2,000 banty, you're a classy gal. What's your minimum entry fee for some sort of sexual encounter? Or not even that. Like, is there a minimum amount of dates? Like, what are you looking for out there? What's your vetting system? Give us some sort of revelation.
I think for the most part, every dynamic is diverse. There's so much diversity in different dynamics and relationships. But I think, back to what you were saying, Adam, that you have to find the purpose and the reason why you're dating, right? So if you're going in to date to sleep around, then you would say something like that, like, no, my minimum is $2,000, because you know that the next person you're going to expect that also from them. When you're going into dating with the purpose of, I'm actually dating to marry, I'm dating for something serious, I'm dating for something long term, you don't really have a minimum. You know, you don't say I have 2,000 or it's 5,000 because you know it's going to be something long term and you know it's going to be highly valuable. So you're going to acquire all the things that that man has to offer. So it all depends on what exactly is that you're looking for and the purpose that you're going into that dynamic.
Yeah, there's a fine line, it seems like, between having a $2,000 minimum and being a prostitute.
Right.
Where's that line? You know?
Exactly.
I think you got to
Anytime-
give the gals credit for having intuition. I mean, I don't know from experience, but I would assume that when you guys go out on a date, you can tell within 3
Right.
minutes if some guy is just there to sleep with you, or if some guy is legit, some cool guy that you want to get to know further. It seems like it's almost assuming as though women just have no faculties of their own.
Well,
Or sometimes they do. The problem is that because they've had bad experiences, now they've determined, they measure it. They have a metric system and put in place so that it kind of protects them. It's kind of like a security deposit.
Yeah.
That's how most women see it. Like, my minimum is 2,000 because at least I got something out of it, right? But again, it all goes back to what purpose are you going into this with? Because a high value woman, the same as a high value man, they don't go into it saying like my minimum is 2,000, really, because that's the minimum, and that's actually the bare minimum. You should go into it saying like, well, you know what? I'm dating with purpose, and I'm dating for marriage. I'm dating for the whole entire picture of this, the spectrum. So there is no minimum. You just have to wait it out to see what that man can provide to you as far as ethics, morals, integrity, credibility, everything.
Well said. I want to break down what you mean, the metric system.
It's a metric system as far as that, what that woman was just saying in that article, in that video. So my minimum is 2,000. That is her system that she's put in place.
That's like basically what high-end prostitutes charge for one night.
Correct. Correct. Not that I
In the
know,
United
but-
States. Maybe it's different in other
But
countries.
even doing that, but her doing that now, she's entering a different caliber of men. She's canceling
Yes.
out a caliber of men that she has no interest in. That's not going to be provide at least a minimum of 2,000 for her. Now, again, do I think you should go into a relationship with a number of, hey, you have to spend this? If you want me to be honest with how expensive things are, spending $2,000 doesn't take a lot of hanging out. If you want me to be honest.
That's 3 meals at McDonald's these days.
There you go.
100%,
Like
yes.
at the end of the day, like that number 2,000, it's going to be spent either way. But her going into
I'm going to push back on you a little
Yeah.
bit. I was
no,
being
but it's going to be
Yes.
spent either way. If it's in a
$2,000.
club,
How much is a dinner?
If it's in
How much is a dinner?
a nice
500.
dinner, like
How much?
It can if you
$500 on a dinner?
You go to a nice
Chanel,
dinner.
Stop.
If
Well,
men
guys,
take
you're
you to
both
a nice
successful.
dinner,
Well,
you're
listen.
spending
How often are you
$300,
dropping
$400.
$500 on a first date?
All the time, because
All the time?
Okay.
I get a bottle of wine, and it's usually a vintage bottle. It might be $400. on
Right.
it.
It's an
Because
But
I
are
experience.
you
like
doing
it.
that for you or for her?
Yeah, for both of us. I mean,
No, but you like the
it
wine.
sets a nice mood for a
Yeah.
date, and I'm not worried about food and how much it costs on a first date.
Right.
But if you see a vibe from a girl, and then you take it from there. But chasing a girl around for multiple dates
Sure.
while you wait, while she's probably blowing some other guy for free,
Yeah.
the next door neighbor or the
Yeah.
UPS guy or whatever it is the most demeaning thing. I mean, I've seen it in my own personal life. Girls making some guy wait for 6 months. Or something like that, and then she's the freakiest, nastiest thing in the world.
Well,
And
what's the
it's like-
famous phrase that
it's
they'll
demeaning.
make a guy wait, but they'll basically just give it up for the right guy?
Don't buy into all that shit. If
So
you're-
what's your rule on a first date?
I don't really have any rules at
Yeah.
all. I
What a
don't see
classy
it that
guy.
way.
There's
at
no
all.
budget, let's say. So let me back up a
What kind of
second.
dates you going on, Alex?
Okay, let me just back up a second because, and I say this with absolute humility. The three of us are at phases of our life where if we spend 100 or 1,000 on a date on a first night, it is of no relevance to our bottom line. But for most guys out there, to spend $500 is completely unrealistic, and I definitely
Sure.
don't recommend
Right.
it. So put yourself in the average guy's shoes. He's 30 years old. He's making some money, but he doesn't have tons of money in the bank.
Right.
What's your recommendation to them?
I mean, I would still follow the same approach. And if I'm going out with a gal, I just go to dinner where I want to go to dinner. And I just, if the gal thinks that that's too low for her, then it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
And usually in the experiences that I've had, if I just go out, going to have a nice dinner where I want to eat what I feel like eating, or getting a nice bottle of wine just because I don't want to drink a crappy bottle of wine, then you attract the people that are probably a better fit.
What's your advice to the average guy out there, Max?
Well, listen, you're taking a girl out. You gotta, be a presentable human being and take her to a nice place, and that's fine. But anything beyond that, I don't really even know what to say on that end. You know, just taking another date, spending more, getting gifts, you're already lost if you're doing that.
It feels
I
like
think
this is
the-
some sort of like
to a coffee
mafiosa.
I think the best
sort of,
approach is just inviting the gal into your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
so your life, you're doing X, Y, and Z,
Right.
and you're just inviting her to be a part of that life for the evening.
Let's say you have no money, you
Yeah.
know, or you don't have a lot of money, or you're in college, or whatever it is. You know, that's a tough situation. You know, me, I like to be confident. I like to have money before I even if I don't have money, I don't even want to take out a girl because I can't take care of her. I don't really feel like myself.
Right.
But if you don't have any money and you're not successful yet or whatever it is, you're gonna have to figure out a way, I guess. You know, but don't sit here and take out your bottom dollar for some chick.
Right.
But you know, the girls could maybe elaborate because there's an expectation there, so it's tricky business. I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, we also
I still think that's crazy though. Like a woman would be like, "Yeah, so you got to spend $2K on me before you get the poom poom." If I was the guy, I'd go somewhere else.
That's the
For
girl
sure.
that already gave it
But
up for nothing.
Find a girl that's
like
happy
that-
with like a shake and some fries, and
But a girl like that could have been dating a guy who doesn't have $2,000, and that's her like,
Learns
hey,
from-
and she dated one guy that had money, and she's like, okay, I know that somebody who's not able to provide me at least this minimum, there's no way I can be happy.
Right. We don't
that
know the
number could be
experiences.
$500 for a girl.
All right, so
But
let me
we
do
don't know
this.
the
but I'm like wondering though. So
You
now,
know, but
now-
we
Hold on,
also
guys, hold
have
on.
to consider
Let me do this.
topography
Let me do this.
because
You guys are, you're single? Or no, you're in a,
I'm in a relationship.
Okay, you
Single.
single? You're single? I want to understand women's mindset because guys' mindset is pretty clear. I don't know many guys that are going on dates being like, yep, you know, I'm looking for a wife and this is what I'm preparing for. Some guys, respect to you, but most guys, especially gentlemen who are established, they're like, all right, look, you know, I'm dealing with this girl and this girl and this girl. And it's sort of a filtering process. All right, there's 5 girls I'm talking to. 2 are I'm putting in the fun bucket. 2 are potential wives, and 1 just has some big old titties. We'll figure that thing out later. Whatever. But women, I want to understand how you have the filtering process of men. I don't think that many women under 25 are dating for marriage. I just don't see it. I own a bar in South Beach. You know what I'm talking about. I see all sorts of party girls. I see them out there. Maybe I'm hanging out in the wrong places, but this is where I live. They're not exactly marriage material or looking for a husband, or they're certainly not acting that way. So for women out there, how are women filtering this dating process? What would you say, Tip?
well, I watch how they treat other people first, and then I watch how they treat me. You know, like if you can treat me nice, if you can open up the door for me.
You're
know,
talking about men, though.
I'm talking about men. Like
Okay, so you're saying this is your
I go after
metric
real
system.
real men and stuff, but at the same time, it's like I bring the value of like, yeah, I can cook you a nice meal, I can wash your clothes if you're providing. Like I look for like more traditional style stuff, as weird as that is to say, because it's like coming from where I come from, dating's really hard. People are like, oh man, you've been ran through like a train station, and I'm like,
No.
oh shit, you know. But that's
So
why
guys say that to you?
I had a guy say that to me.
Okay.
But it's like, I mean, I don't know. I
So
don't.
what's
get
your
offended.
recommendation for women, this whole body, you know, hookup culture, body count culture? If you could give advice to the 21-year-old girl out there that's just graduating college, she's had her fun in college, now she has her first job, she's out there in the real world, she's just getting this thing called life started, she's hot, she's young, guys are hitting her up, they're
Yeah.
sliding in her DM. What's the best advice you'd have for a young hot chick?
So if you want to have fun on the ride, you better enjoy the bigger decline of it. The harder you go with that ride, the harder that decline's gonna hit.
Gotcha. So you're using a roller coaster analogy. You're going up and you're having a great time.
Yeah, well,
But
that's
if
what I
you don't
talk
get
about
it-
on my series I'm starting to do and
Okay.
stuff, because it's like I wish I had someone like me telling me what's gonna happen when I'm in my 30s,
Okay.
and it really drains you of a
What
lot
would you
of
say?
energy.
What would you say to yourself in that case?
Pardon?
What would you say to yourself, to your younger self? As your
I would have
20
told my
20-year-old
younger
walks
self,
through,
you know, keep being a starving artist, because you'll get the job that you want a little quicker than you would know, versus like, I got a job I've been wanting for like a little over 10 years. Like I've been wanting this job like more than anything I wanted in the world. And I probably would have gotten it a lot sooner if I didn't get myself in adult movies. Now, I'm not going to Mia Khalifa the industry,
Uh-huh.
but a lot of women don't know like what actually like hits, and they don't listen to people that haven't done it, because that's the thing. People came to me and told me that never did porn, oh, this is gonna happen and this is gonna happen. I'm like, oh, yeah, right. And it's like, I feel like people will be more inclined to listen to someone like me, like, hey, if you're gonna do this, this is what's gonna happen.
Well, I look at it this way, and thank you for being candid. And George, you can kind of recommend this. I say that like a man's finances, him going out, spending all his money, living for the present, not for the future, not thinking of what your future self will do to thank you for all the smart decisions you're making today that will help you in the future, is sort of similar to a woman's hookup culture, body count,
It's
accumulating
a decline.
numbers. There's going to be a negative return at the end of the day. You're not utilizing compound interest, all that. So a man spending all his money living for the today will not have a secure financial future when he's ready to retire, most likely. Just like a woman who's basically racking up all those miles might not have a secure financial future or relationship future. What's the correlation that you see there?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that Rich and Rollo really hit the nail on the head with this. If you're a guy, you just really got to focus on yourself and let the chips fall where they may. And if you focus on being the best that you can be, then that's not going to be a problem for you.
Right.
You
The
know,
old chase excellence, not woman approach.
That's right. That's right. And ironically enough, most guys do the opposite, and they end up getting neither. Where if they just focus on themselves and their money, their fitness, whatever you want to call it, and then women are attracted to that. Women are going to notice that.
No doubt. Let's go to you, Joe. Janelle, what's your advice to young ladies out there? Like kind of what I said to Tiffany, you're young, you're hot, you're 21, you're coming out in the world. What piece of advice would you want your younger self to even know?
My younger self, I would probably say to set a standard and to always keep in mind self-development, right? And it's something very parallel to what he was saying. When you develop yourself and you take care of yourself, you're going to start attracting the right people that are incongruent to your values as well.
Yeah.
Facts.
So everything else just falls into place. The right people fall into place. And then because you're living by that standard, that's what eventually you're going to attract as well. But when you're young, there's a phase for everything. So these girls that are young and they're partying and you can tell them that all you want. Some will listen, like what you were saying. There's some guys that listen and some that don't. That's why we have contrast. Not everything is going to be singular. Not everything is linear. So that contrast exists and it always will. But for those people that do want to, I would say just to always set that standard.
Gotcha. Nat, what's your best piece of advice? You have a younger sister.
I do.
How old is she?
She's about to be 20.
She's about to be 20. Well, when she turns 21, she can come on the show.
Yeah.
What are you telling her? Because, look, you're a classy lady, but at the same time, you like to go out, you like to have fun. It's it's not like you're some hobbit. What's the advice that you're giving your younger sister?
Well, I think it also really comes down to when you pick your partner, also kind of how you were raised. We were raised in like a very fortunate home. We worked a lot, family business, and Malia got to really see, a close-knit family. She got to see women grow up in a classy way, women not doing, extracurricular activities that weren't appropriate. Yes, she has seen mistakes, but she also got to see the reaction of my parents when things were done wrong. So, my advice to her
Marvin
is,
will give her a little ass whooping or what?
my mom would give her
Mom's coming in.
Mom's coming in
With that sandal, with that chancleta?
Yeah, and she got a pot spoon and all.
That's how they do it in your house.
Yeah.
The Cubans in Miami, they're hitting people with sandals.
Yeah, we did the pot
My mom
spoon.
used to wash my mouth out with soap. So in your house, it's a wooden spoon?
Yeah, we don't do soap.
Damn. I don't need to see these
man,
wooden
I got the
spoons.
wooden
Yeah,
spoon.
Now
I got
I'm
the
scared to
heel.
see your mom cook.
No, she's actually a phenomenal cook.
Okay, but the spoon might get. Okay.
It gives that
So
kick.
what would you hit her for?
No, if I was the troubled kid, I was the middle kid. That
You
I
were the
would
bad girl.
Sneak out, hang out, and I always, whenever I would do that, I always told myself, you have to make it home. You have to make it home. Don't do anything bad enough where you won't make it home. And I never did anything bad. I literally just wanted to go out and hang out. I didn't drink. I didn't do any drugs. I literally just wanted to hang out with people because they were very strict. So everything was no. So I was like, I want to go out. I want to hang out with my friends. I'm a people person. So I grew up very, very enclosed. And my little sister got to see kind of me do the things that you shouldn't do. And so when I talk to her, she knows it's from experience. She knows my parents' reaction already. She knows, hey, Nat already did that path, don't do it. You know, she knows kind of, so she's also got to see an example. And I think, you know, what you're doing, you know, Tiffany, is very important, because for women to have an example of what my reality will be in the end if I'm not, you know, given some perspective, it saves women so much. Like, I'm thinking to my little sister, like, you lucky. You got to see, like, me grow up. You got to see your mom grow up. You got to see Brianna grow up. Like, now there's also pressure on her. It's like, okay, you've seen these different mistakes from different women who influence you, right? How are we going to help you in certain, you know, your mistakes? So then it makes you think as, a, you know, a sister, well, if she has seen all these different situations, what will her situation be based on knowing not to make those decisions? So I think just being supportive, being there, finding women, that's a good group of women, and being around that. And also I think being around a group of like strong men is a good thing for women.
Great advice, Matt.
And I say that because it allows women to kind of learn, I don't want to say their place, but learn the dynamic of where to be with a man.
Well, a father in the household, I'll say this.
Yes.
You see the stats about that. We've done this on the PBD podcast. We see the epidemic that's going on in this country, the rise of baby mama culture, let's just call it, and single moms that are raising kids. And shout out to the single moms out there. Respect. It's just way harder for the child to succeed if it's just raised in a single parent household, specifically a single mother household. Let me unpack that. So the stats basically show that the nuclear family, two-parent household, gives the kids the best chances for success in life. Stats show
absolutely.
it. But nobody's going to get shocked by that stat. But what will shock you is the stats do not deviate whatsoever from a two-parent household when they're raised by a single dad. So if they're raised by a single dad, the metrics barely change. But if they're raised by a single mom, this kind of shows why you need a man in the household for discipline and encouragement and maybe an ass whooping or two. Regulation.
Yes.
Because women are nurturers and men are just sort of protectors, providers. All of a sudden, the numbers skyrocket. More likely to do drugs, more likely to go to jail, more likely to do suicide, more likely to get incarcerated, and all that crazy stuff. So the right man in the house is super important
very
for
important.
men and for women. Before we wrap up, Humberto, I know you wanted to give some 2 cents on this topic.
Oh, 100%. I think the framing of the statement is there's some serious girl math going on. Like, first of all, setting a set number of $2,000 is just silly. Like, I mean, experts recommend like discretionary spending to be 30% of what you make every month. And if you go on 4 dates, that's 7.5% of you can afford to go on a date with. So let's say if you make $10,000 is one number. If you make, I don't know, like $30,000 a month is another number. And then maxing out your budget for the first date is just bad strategy. You know, you want to go middle so you can take her on a better date if the first date goes well, or you can take her on a worse date if the date goes badly, you know? So I just think it's crazy talk. This is like going to, you know, like going gambling or going to a casino. Like the money you take out is money that you'd be willing to lose right away, you know, like, 'cause you never know how day's going to go. So yeah, I don't think the 2,000 means anything. Is it 2,000 everywhere? Is it 2,000 for every type of girl? Is every girl worth $2,000 for the first date? I don't know.
Well, no, I have that answer. Likely, no. Let me shake up the crystal
What kind
ball.
of dates do you go on?
Likely not. I'm going to come and grab some drinks at the bar. We'll order some appetizers. I don't sit at a table because it's weird. We'll sit at a bar. We'll have a few drinks. If we vibe, we'll go someplace else. If not, I'll Uber you home. Have a nice life. But let me end this segment here. I say this all the time. A man's 20s is totally different from a woman's 20s. Let me explain. So I think your 20s is infinitely way more important for a woman, because a woman's clock operates a lot different from a man. We just discussed what Rich and Rolo talk about pursuing excellence and chasing excellence, not women. And I've seen this manifest firsthand in real life. Again, I live in Miami.
In my life,
You've seen this.
I can attest to it.
Yeah, I want to get that. So I saw this played out in a real life situation for me. This was about a month ago. I told the story. I'll tell it again. So there was this girl that was like my age in high school. Baddie. Completely gorgeous girl. Didn't give me the time of day. when we were in high school or even in college. She was dating the older guys, the rich guys, the successful guys. She was, getting flown around, doing her thing. Awesome, good for you. I'd see her every once in a while, shoot my shot, but she's dating some millionaire, billionaire, whatever it was at the time. But she didn't maximize her 20s. Again, a woman's 20s is way more important than a man's 20s. A man still has to get a job, figure it out, make some money, save some money, become a man. Do everything that you need to do that's incumbent to be an actual man, protector, provider, being present for your woman. Boom. Fast forward. I'm in an Uber. I'm with a girl that I'm seeing these days. We get out of the Uber.
Yeah.
She's a young girl, attractive girl. We get out. It just so happens, you ever go to an Uber and like the next person that is getting in the Uber is there while you're getting out, and it's very weird.
It was
I get out of
her?
the Uber. And she's standing there. This girl I've known forever.
Yeah.
She's like, Adam, what's up? Keep in mind, she's 40 now.
Yeah.
Okay? Adam, what's up? How are you? She didn't realize a girl was
Coming out
like
after.
coming out of the car.
Yeah.
She's like, you look great. Oh,
You love that.
hey,
I watched this all too.
what's going on? I was like, hey, this is so-and-so. This is so-and-so. She's like, oh, you're gorgeous. Like fake thing.
Yeah.
And you just saw her go in the Uber, 2 a.m, home alone, like Macaulay Culkin out here, 42 years old. And I'm thinking to myself, the girl I'm with has no clue what's going on. I'm thinking to myself, that girl is leaving a club by herself, 42 years old, single, because she didn't maximize her 20s. This girl had every guy like on her doorstep, and she didn't basically.
She overplayed her hand. Is what
there
she
it
did.
is.
She overplayed it.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Jordan?
I was going to say it's very similar to my sister, except
Yeah.
she maximized.
Let's hear that.
When
I was like, what?
Very similar to my sister.
Except
Looking
the
for a
opposite.
man.
no, my sister, she's fantastic, and she always
you.
dated the athletes. She always dated. It was always athletes.
Okay.
Always athletes. And then let's see, how old would she have been? She's probably 1987. She's 10 years older than I am. So let's just call it when she was maybe 24, 25. She got married, and she married a guy that was at the time in AAA.
Okay.
But then he ended up spending 15 years in the big leagues.
Oh, get outta
and
here.
Now he's a pitching coach and greatest guy ever.
And they're still married.
Oh yeah, still married.
Kids?
Two kids.
And you're a happy uncle. She's a happy wife.
Yeah,
happy
I mean,
sister.
his side of the family is awesome. He's just a great guy. It's been a great relationship. So it's a real example of a success story.
That's awesome, man.
Nice.
Well, congratulations to your sister. And
Good.
I hope that segment actually helped you guys get a little bit smarter, a little bit richer, a little bit wiser.
Yeah.
And when it comes to these dates and these $2,000, save that money. We know how that works. So speaking of saving that money, let's go on to the next story here. So, guys, there's this thing called Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? It's sort of been like hibernating. It's been, the crypto winter. We all know what happened in the crypto boom and the Bitcoin boom right after the pandemic. We saw a lot of Bitcoin billionaires and millionaires and Dogecoin trillionaires just come out of the woodworks. Now nobody's really talking about their Bitcoin or their shitcoins or anything like that until now because it's on the move. So here's the latest. If we can pull that up, Bitcoin has basically been booming in the fourth quarter. As of today, the current Bitcoin is a shade over $43,000. I think it reached as high as $44,000. This is the highest price it's been in 20 months. Ethereum, which is sort of the number 2 in command in the crypto world, that just sort of had an 18-month high, $2,200. Why are these prices going up? I want to get the guys' take on this. I believe it, based on what I've seen, it's driven by investor speculation that there's going to be some Fed interest rate cuts.
And an
Jerome
ETF,
Powell,
yeah.
he's talking about that. Reduced regulation. I'm not sure if there's going to be as much regulation in the crypto industry. This is what you would talk about. But also, I want to get Max's opinion on this. Gold has also hit an all-time peak. I believe it's around $2,200 per troy ounce. You'll teach us what that is. So I want to understand if there's a correlation between digital gold, Bitcoin as they call it, and actual gold. But the bottom line is investors seem drawn to assets like Bitcoin and gold when central banks, i.e. the Fed going on here in America, are cutting interest rates aggressively. So make some sense of what you think is going on in the crypto market and the gold market. Let's educate our friends out there.
Well, just to be clear, the Fed hasn't cut rates yet.
Right.
The market is predicting that they're going to cut rates in 2024, and that's why there's this move, or maybe one of the moves, into Bitcoin or what I would consider risk assets. Hopefully, Bitcoin in the future, it doesn't fall into that category. You know,
in what category exactly?
The risk asset category.
Okay.
Basically
Break
trading
that
at the
down. What do you mean
NASDAQ,
the risk asset
or
category?
what they call long duration. It's meaning that what's really driving the price, there's obviously hundreds, thousands of variables, but what's really driving the price is just kind of speculation. Where I think everyone should own Bitcoin, but not because the price is going to $1 million, but it's to have purchasing power outside of the system.
Gotcha.
You know, so we can talk about central bank digital currencies and things like that, privacy issues. So that's why I think that everyone should own Bitcoin. And I hope that in the future, what drives the price isn't so much speculation, but more so adoption, because people want to use it as an alternative, decentralized form of money.
Let me ask you, George, because I would consider you one of the leading macroeconomists on the internet, for sure, and I think you have a lot of credibility here. The crypto space lost a ton of credibility. Bitcoin peaked at what, $70,000?
Around 60, 65.
$65,000 in 2021, give or take. Lost a lot of credibility, I'll tell you why. Obviously, the market tanked. We saw that Elon Musk went on SNL and basically called Dogecoin sort of a hustle. I think that basically brought down Dogecoin. But then we see everything play out with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. And then we've seen the latest news with Binance and CZ, you know, basically fraud, basically funding terrorists around the world. I want to talk credibility. Have you seen these new Coinbase commercials? Coinbase, by the way, is some of the best commercials I've ever seen. Yeah. The latest one is they do this sort of like family photo. And they, see if you can find that, Humberto, just like an image of it. But they sort of give like the step and repeat, like take out debt, go to college, get a job, repay the debt. They show the grandfather, right? Then they show the father, take out debt, go to college, repay the debt, get a job, blah, blah, blah. Then they show the daughter. She looks like she's 22 years old, let's say. Take out debt, go to college, try to repay the debt, can't repay the debt, get a job, get a side hustle. And then they show a picture of basically like the granddaughter, and they say that the system is broken. The system is rigged, as some politicians like to say. And they basically say, take control of the system and basically do what you can do to basically beat the system. So Coinbase has these amazing commercials. I'm not endorsing Coinbase. I do have some money on that platform. But how much does credibility hurt or help the crypto market at this point?
That's a tough question. I mean, I think that the commercial, first and foremost, is completely ridiculous.
Why do you say that?
Because money, whether it's a dollar bill or it's a $100 bill or it's gold, whether it's crypto, whether it's Bitcoin, it's not wealth. And people mistake that, right? So the example that I always use on my channel is, let's just assume for a moment that you're stranded on a deserted island. Let's just assume that you got a chest, well, $1 billion full of gold, or you've got $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, or $1 billion worth of green pieces of paper, but you have sand, a palm tree, and some salt water. Are you rich or are you poor?
Yeah, I would say you're going to have to start burning your money for fire.
Yeah, you're poor. Why? Because you have no goods and services. So true wealth is not measured by the amount of currency units, the amount of Bitcoin, the amount of gold. It's measured by how efficiently a society can produce goods and services. That is wealth at the end of the day. So by Coinbase or whatever coming out and insinuating that this young girl has no other alternative to to gain wealth other than to speculate on crypto, I think is completely ridiculous. She has an alternative, and that is to go out there and produce more than you consume.
Gotcha. So to break that down for the average person out there, you'd know better than I, but GDP, gross domestic product, it's how much goods and services a country can produce for the most part. I'm sure you'll expand on this. But what does that mean for the average person? Does that just get your ass to work, buy some assets, make some income, do all that? Break that down.
Well, let's just take you as an example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Use me. Use me.
Them.
So what do you produce? You produce all of this content, right? So how much do you consume? Well, I would argue that you're producing more than you consume.
Yeah.
And you're saving the rest. That's what people should do. Whether it's producing content, whether it's producing a service, whether it's producing, coffee, whether it's producing iPhones, pens, paper, microphones, whatever it is, you're going out there and producing stuff. And that's the real value. That's wealth at the end of the day.
Gotcha.
It's not currency units or Bitcoin.
This
or
is
gold.
going to open up a whole can of worms. Then I want to get Max's opinion, but that's the whole problem with socialism and communism. And they're just, stealing from the rich to give to the poor, but they're not producing more.
Yeah, let me give you a specific example. So we see, and you and I are a little bit older, I think. So I'm sure you remember those pictures of communist Russia, where it's black and white photos.
The bread lines.
That's right, where everyone is standing in
Back in
line.
my day, in my bread line in Russia, yeah.
But we see that as Americans, and we think that was a result of them being poor, or them not having enough money, and that's actually not true. They all had money. All the Russians that lived in communist Russia in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or they all had money, plenty of money.
But their money wasn't worth shit.
No, they just had no stuff.
Yeah. They had empty.
There was no stuff at the grocery store. So good for you. You got $500. But if you have that $500 and there's no stuff to buy, then again, it's just like that deserted island example, that you're poor.
Gotcha.
And so that's what we have to focus on as a society. It's being productive. It's not speculating and gambling.
Well said. Max, let's bring you in on this thing. You're a gold guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you got some
Okay.
some gold on your neck right now.
Sure.
When you hear us talk about crypto, you hear crypto called digital gold.
Right.
Gold has now reached an all-time high. What is it about gold that people should understand? How do you feel about crypto? How do you feel about the general market at this point? Give us some insight.
First and foremost, I agree completely with what George said. You have to be. I was born in a communist country, and it wasn't a productive society because people had no incentives to be productive.
You were born where?
In Baku, Azerbaijan, which is part of the Soviet Union at the time. And there was no incentive to be productive or innovative because the commissar said this, he said that. Everyone was lying, right? Everyone's making excuses because there's no reward. So in that society, there's no reason to be productive. Nothing gets produced. You're waiting in line for 30 years for just to buy a car. Stuff like that, right? Central planning, somebody somewhere said, we're going to build a factory. They take a bribe. They're here. So none of that actually works. The only thing that actually works is when the individual has an incentive and a plan for themselves, and they do fair business, and they become productive, and then good things happen. As far as Bitcoin is concerned, Bitcoin has a market capacity of roughly $1 trillion right now.
That's the market cap of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
right
so
now.
there's $1 trillion of people's money, okay? So $1 trillion is 1,000 billion. So it's $1 million in Bitcoin right now. In order for Bitcoin to double, in that case, theoretically, you'd have to put in another $1 trillion in there. So, to put in another $1 trillion into, some digital asset is crazy to see it double. And then the other thing is there's a lot of people waiting that bought in at 60,000 and 50,000 that are waiting to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, of course.
They're waiting to sell off. So you got to get through all of that. And that's a scary thing. Then I saw, like somebody had a server with crazy compute power and crazy electric bills to make 1/10 of a Bitcoin. Vast amounts of energy are being plunked into mining this thing. It's actually very inefficient, especially when energy resources are limited. So that's another problem with that thing. So I don't really know what to tell you on that.
When it comes to gold, though, so are you a believer in Bitcoin? Do you hold any Bitcoin?
I don't hold any Bitcoin.
None.
I don't need
you
any
hold
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin?
It's
You
not a
hold
productive
crypto?
asset.
Yeah. So I've got a little bit. I've put some money.
I think
into
the best
Bitcoin.
way to look at gold and Bitcoin, if you're looking at Bitcoin in the way I think is appropriate, is just a store of your excess productivity.
Yeah.
A store of your excess productivity.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, so you produce more than you consume.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with the difference?
Yeah, that's exactly what.
So what you
I've
want
done.
to do with
Exactly.
the difference is you want to store a value.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd look at gold. Gold has been a store of value. So it isn't really wealth itself. It's a way to protect your excess productivity, and that in and of itself is wealth.
So if there's a kid out there, right? Look, prior to Bitcoin started in what, 2008, 2009, give or take.
Right.
Satoshi Nakamoto. Prior to Bitcoin or any sort of crypto, when you think of storing wealth or a store of wealth, you would think gold, maybe some silver.
Sure.
Right? This is your world,
Could
100%.
be stocks, as
real
well.
estate,
Okay.
art.
Real estate, but as far as like physical, no, I'm not talking real estate art. I'm talking actual like,
Right.
it was gold. Gold is, what's the market cap of gold right now?
About
I don't know.
10, 11 trillion.
10, 11 trillion.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin is 1/10 of gold. But if you're an average 21-year-old dude out there, 25-year-old dude, are you even thinking of gold? You're thinking of Bitcoin. You're thinking
Right.
of digital gold.
You could think whatever
Maybe tell
you
me
want,
why
though.
a young person should be thinking of gold. We gave a shout out to American
Sure.
Heart for Gold earlier. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the reason might be is it's not about what they're thinking about or not. There's a big game at play. All right, central banks are buying up gold. Are they, George? Or
Yeah.
So what are they doing
On
that
that.
for? They're not buying up Bitcoin.
Right.
So if the central banks are buying it up, and China has a plan, okay, they're surrounding Taiwan. They're being very, very quiet, meticulous, developing a serious military, and they're tired of the dollar's dominance. They have a serious plan at play, and if that plan includes gold, you got to be careful, okay? Because they're not sitting around, oh, I'm dating, I'm 20-year-old, I'm this, I'm that. They're sitting there playing a different game, and they're coming, and nobody sees them coming. But when they're there, it's going to be, oh shit. So the real deal is that if they try to throw off the dollar and attack the dollar, as I think that they would, and they're going to have central banks are going to go to a currency that is going to be dominated with denominated in gold to some degree, then gold is going to go for a serious ride, and we're going to have serious troubles.
You think gold will go up at that point
Yeah,
or go down?
yeah. When the gold standard was you could take $100 bill and trade it in for relative amount of gold.
Yeah.
That was in 1972. So that relationship, if you calculate that relationship to the vast amount of dollars that are out there now, gold would be about $70,000 an ounce.
Jesus.
Okay.
That was 1972. Nixon taking us off the
71.
gold standard.
Yeah.
71. So, by the way, I know that you're not a big fan of the Fed. I've seen you wear a hat and the Fed. Is there any chance we're ever going back to the gold system?
That's a can of worms. I don't, without getting into too much complexity, I don't really know there's a difference. Most people think that under a gold standard that it acted as some sort of constraint on the monetary system. And based on my research, I cannot see any examples of that whatsoever. So let me give you some specific numbers. At the end of the 1800s, we were on probably the most proper gold standard in U.S. history. So we'll just use the time frame from 1880 to 1895. All right, under a strict gold standard. So most of the people in the sound money space would say, okay, this is optimal. Right, because this is going to put a constraint on how many currency units are created. It's going to put a constraint on government spending, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Because you can redeem those currency units for gold. And then they would say now that that Nixon in 71, he took us off the gold standard. Now we've just had money printing left and right and, fiat currency this, fiat currency that.
We printed during COVID, 40% of all money printing?
25% of M2 went up by 25%.
Was that the final number, 25%?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay.
So they say there's just no constraints whatsoever, so we need to go back to that system. But what's interesting is if you look at M2 money supply growth, from 1880 to 1895.
What's an M2 exactly?
That's just basically a measurement of how many how many dollars are in like checking.
You guys writing this down? What's going on? M2.
Sure.
Let's go. Take notes.
So like checking and savings accounts. Let's just, for the sake of keeping it super simple, let's just say if you combined all the dollars that are in checking and savings accounts in the United States, that would give you your M2. So how many currency units are chasing goods and services?
We all just learned something, by the way.
Yeah, so let's just, it was right around 150% that M2 grew from 1880 to 1895 when we were under that strict gold standard. Now, if you look at 2008 to 2023, and I use that time frame specifically because that was quantitative easing. That's when the Fed expanded their balance sheet. Everyone says that was money printing this and money. That's when the central banks just went absolutely ballistic.
What year
the
was that,
politicians
George?
lost their mind. 2008. is when we
Oh,
started
yeah.
quantitative
That was-
easing
yeah,
in the United
of course.
States. If you look at 2008 to 2023,
Greenspan, was that under Greenspan?
no, Bernanke.
That was under
So-
Ben Bernanke?
Yeah, so that was a separate
Bernanke.
15-year time frame, right? When we just had profligate spending from the government and everything that the sound money guys don't like, including me. I don't like that stuff either. But the M2 money supply grew by 150%, the exact same. So whether you're on a gold standard or a strict fiat standard, we still had money supply growing at the same rate. So why is that? Because at the end of the day, the people who quote unquote print money are not the politicians, not the Federal Reserve, it's the banks.
The banks.
It's the banks. So the banks can create as much money as they want under a gold standard, and they can create as much money as they want under a fiat standard. And really what constricts or constrains the banks is the lack of government intervention. Because what constrains the banks is the chance of them losing money, their profit and loss, their balance sheet is really what constrains them. So if a bank is creating currency units out of thin air, but they're doing that without the backstop of the Fed, without an implicit bailout, then they're going to be creating those currency units for what? For productivity. They're going to lend to people that they think can pay them back plus interest. So they're going to lend to business owners. They're going to lend to people like Pat.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what is going to advance society forward, right? What happens is
He creates jobs and opportunities
that's
and
right.
goods
So if
and
you're
services.
if
and
you're
he's a
if you're
creator.
a bank and you're giving out a loan, you're going to say, okay, well, can this person pay me back or not, right? Plus interest, and usually those people are going to be able to produce stuff, and that's how they're going to pay you back, right? More than you're giving them in principal. So what happens is you introduce the Fed, you introduce the government. Now all of a sudden there's all these backstops. Now the banks don't have to lend for productive purposes. They can lend to buy Dogecoin, or they can lend for something else that has nothing to do with productivity. It has nothing to do with growing the wealth of society. It just simply has to do with speculation, and that's the environment that we're in right now. That's the problem. The problem isn't necessarily sound money. Believe it or not. The problem is government intervention. If we could get the government out of the equation, like we did, by the way, in the late 1800s, we had something called free banking.
Yeah.
Most Americans probably can't even fathom that, but we had no central bank, and the government really wasn't involved in the banking system at all. In fact, banks in the 1800s printed their own money. Literally, we call them bank notes. Where do you think we got that name?
Oh, gotcha.
So we didn't have in the late 1800s we did, but prior to the Civil War, we didn't have these green pieces of paper. Each bank had printed its own bank notes, which was
So what would is that? I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but is there any chance that something like that happens again, or is it just like we're down
well, there
too
is.
deep
It's
in
not
the
a zero
rabbit hole?
probability. Look at Argentina.
Yeah.
So the
With
problem,
Milei, your friend.
So the problem, because he wants to get rid of the central bank.
Yeah, he talks about
that's
that.
why I say that.
That's why he walks around with a chainsaw
Yeah,
everywhere.
the problem isn't that it's not possible. The problem is that it has to get so bad in order for people to vote for that type of drastic change. So if you look at Argentina, why did Milei win? Right? It's not that everyone that voted for him is a libertarian.
No.
No,
They're just sick and tired.
They're sick and tired of 150% inflation.
Yes.
Right? They're sick and tired of hyperinflation. So like, just give me anybody that won't give me this hyperinflation.
He's a change agent, and hopefully it'll deliver.
That's right.
Let me ask you guys one more thing. So Max, George, if there's a guy out there, gal out there, he's like, I got $5,000, and by the way, let me go on the record: pay off your debts, save some money, have an emergency fund, start traditional investing. I get it, but if they have an extra $5,000, right? Do you think they should put it into gold or Bitcoin digital gold? What do you think, Max?
Well, I mean, if they put it into gold, they're not going to be disappointed. They're not going to make a killing. Okay, you're not going to sit here and buy the stock that's going to give you 500% or whatever it is. But if you come back in 20 years, and your money triples, or if worst case scenario, even does more, I think you're going to be pretty satisfied. It's just safe.
Gotcha.
Gold hasn't disappointed anybody in the past 5,000 years. It's probably not going to disappoint anybody in the next 50 either.
Well said.
So that's really what it is. So if you want to sleep at night safe,
Yeah.
that you have your gold and you know how to transact and cash it in, then that's cool.
So is it fair to say it's not for growth? It's not for major, big upside. It's for safe. It's not going anywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere in 5,000 years.
They have the saying with gold. It's not a way to get rich. It's a way to stay rich.
Bingo.
It's a storage of wealth, like he said.
Yeah. Gotcha. So you'd put it. So it all depends on what your strategy is. So you own gold as well?
Absolutely.
Gotcha. So you do gold and Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Bitcoin for the upside, but gold for the store of value.
I think it's about portfolio management.
Okay.
And so what makes people unsuccessful or successful in the realm of investing usually isn't what they buy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's usually their psychology, how disciplined they are, and how well they can manage their portfolio. And it's all about risk reward, right?
Yep.
So with my personal portfolio, what I always like to do is something that I call a 10-80-10 portfolio.
Okay.
So what does that mean?
Break down this 10-80-10.
Yeah, so the first 10% for me is what I consider insurance, and that would be physical gold. That's your insurance policy. The next 80%, I consider that an investment. So I define that as something that pays me to own it. So that would be a dividend-producing stock. That would be a rental property with positive cash flow. That's an example. That portion of my portfolio is paying me. And the reason I do that is because you never want to put yourself into a position of being a motivated seller. As a buyer, you want to take advantage of those people. And the only way that you're put into a position where you have to sell, usually unless you have some family emergency or something, is if that part of your portfolio isn't paying you. If it's paying you, then you don't care what the price is going to do. I'll give you an example. In 2012, that's when I got involved with real estate. Well, that was a good time, hindsight being 20/20, but at the time, I thought that real estate was going to continue to go down. Because if you guys remember back then, the GFC, real estate had gone down for 6 years in a row, and everyone thought that real estate would continue to go down forever. It's going to be like
Never
Japan
does.
or something like that, right? Everyone was telling me that was absolutely crazy. Well, it turned out to be, a good play back then. But my point is, I was buying the real estate because at the time I thought it was cheap, and it was paying me to own it. So even if the value of that real estate, let's say I bought a property for $100,000, even if the value went down to $75,000, who cares? Who cares? I'm not selling. It's just a paper loss. As long as I'm collecting that rent payment
and this
every
is in
single
your
month.
80%
Correct.
portion. Okay. And the last 10 would be what?
Speculative assets.
Okay. What would you define as that? Is that
Gold
crypto?
miners. That would be Bitcoin.
Okay.
That would be gold miners. Now, keep in mind, I would a certain percentage of the net worth outside of the investment portfolio, I think, should be there as a plan B. And I think that
Which
gold
would be what?
Look, if you have a central bank digital currency, I think that's the best example of a plan B to where you want to transact outside of the system.
Yeah.
Let's say you get canceled. I mean, you should be thinking about this. I mean, I hate
I'm
to
all
say
ears
it.
right now. Yeah.
But with you and the topics that you guys discuss, I mean, and I've been canceled. I had my YouTube channel taken down from Twitter.
For what reason? Talking about the Fed?
No. This was back in 2021.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was talking
During
about some
the
stuff they didn't want.
situation that happened. Back
I was talking about some
That's why I stay in my
stuff
lane, George.
that they didn't want me to talk about, so
Yeah.
they took that down. But the bottom line is you talk about some stuff that's
Yeah.
very, very important, but people in high positions might think that it would be wise for you to go somewhere else or to censor you because you're
Well, let me
spreading
tell them,
misinformation,
guys, I'm a
disinformation.
nice guy. I say nice things. Sometimes the truth may hurt sometimes.
Yeah, but you could be
Nothing
unbanked. I mean,
can-
look at the truckers in Canada. Look how fast they got unbanked, right? For just
Trudeau.
That's right. So
Yeah.
you need to, especially in today's day and age, I think everyone needs to have purchasing power outside of the system. So I would consider that outside of that model portfolio that we were just discussing. And in that bucket, I definitely think you should have gold and Bitcoin.
Gotcha.
I think there's a lot of things that
This
would
is
use-
why Elon Musk can say the things he wants to say.
Because he's got,
Yeah.
he can do his thing.
This is
But
why.
I do have
This
both.
is
I
why.
listen to both. Let me give a quick shout out. Speaking of gold, this is kind of the perfect segue. We do have some friends at American Hartford Gold. We got to give them a shout out. So I always talk about saving that money so you can invest that money, right? Save that money is my slogan. But like I don't have that 80-10 strategy like you. I have a different strategy. But the vast majority of my wealth is mostly in investments. Once you have a certain amount of cash, then you can kind of go from there. But we all know in America today, most people don't have $400 for an emergency. So there's levels to this game. But just to kind of store value, store of wealth, understanding that, and we just broke that down, once you can start investing, that you should save a portion of your money and pump it into gold or even to silver. So you diversify your assets. And the reason you need gold is because it is store of value. You said it hasn't disappointed anyone in 5,000 years. You poignantly said that it's not, what was your phrase again?
It's not a way to get rich. It's a way to stay rich.
So if you want to stay rich, take a look at the gold from American Hartford Gold. They will ship physical gold directly to your door as silver as well, or they can set you up with a gold IRA. That's an option. But more so, they've earned a 5-star rating from thousands of reviews online, and A+ on the Better Business Bureau. So if you want to know more about gold, if you want to look into gold, everything we just discussed today, take a look at American Hartford Gold, and we have a VT deal for everyone here at home that will give you up to $5,000 in free silver on your first order. You can click the link in the description. I believe we added that below. Or if you're old school and want to pick up the phone and call the number 866-443-6361. Or if you're new school and you want to send a text SOS to 65532. Again, 866-443-6361 if you want to pick up the phone, or text SOS to 65532. So shout out to American Hartford Gold. I do want to get the ladies involved here because they're talking some pretty important stuff. And I do understand that, there's levels to this game. You guys, no one is on the levels of what they're doing in the gold world or in the macroeconomic world. We're all trying to learn. We're all trying to get better. But there is something called the Fear-Greed Index, okay? Which basically, you can probably talk about this. What talks about the investor sentiment in the market. Are people being very fearful right now? Are they scared of what's going on in the economy and in the markets? Are they greedy? Warren Buffett has famously said be fearful when people are greedy and be greedy when people are fearful. By the way, rest in peace, Charlie Munger. He died 99 years old. That's Warren Buffett's business partner and consigliere and billionaire whisperer. But pull up this Fear-Greed Index, if you would, real quick. So right now, and this changes every day, every week, people are looking pretty greedy. They're out there. They're basically saying, all right, is it time to maybe invest, take advantage
because they
of what's
think the
going
Fed
on?
is going to drop rates, and they somehow think that's going to be positive for the stock market.
Okay.
When you look at history, it's a complete opposite.
So-
But I could go into that later.
Okay. Well, so ladies, let me just get your quick take. Nat, have you started investing at all?
I actually do have a little bit.
What did you invest in? Where'd you start?
I have some Ethereum, got a little Bitcoin. I have some of my insurance policies getting some index funds I have. And yeah, I have. So those are some of my main ones.
Nice. So before you started investing, what was your biggest fear? Or what is your current biggest fear?
What do you mean? Like my biggest, like?
Do you not, it's Wall Street, it's crazy, it's scary, the market.
She's fearless.
She's fearless?
Yeah,
you
I don't
think
know
so?
about that. I mean, I
Yeah,
just
Max,
there's always
you've
a
said a
fear-
lot of good things today. This was not the right one.
Yeah. No, I mean a fear of not being able to provide for my future family, going broke.
Well, that's
fear
what you
of
need a
not
rich
having
man.
resources.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Provide
but,
for your future
but
family.
at the end of the day, you want to make sure that even as a woman, you also have some sense of awareness when it comes to finance. There's nothing like being completely in the dark and then doesn't work out. The woman leaves, the man leaves, and then the woman's in the dark, moneyless, or she has a whole bunch of money and doesn't know what to do with it.
I'll
Like Al
take you in if
Pacino, I'm
that
in the
happens.
dark here.
Yeah. So I
What
think
about you,
it's important.
Janelle? Are you investing
think-
yet?
Yes, in index also,
Yes.
insurance. I would like to invest in property, but I do think what you were saying, that it's important for women to have some kind of financial literacy. I grew up in a household where the man, was the leader and the one that really manages the finances because he does well in that. The woman was kind of just more like, the one that was there for communication purposes, for persuasion, to mediate. But when you do want your own business and you go off into the world and you're an independent woman, you do need to have some kind of financial literacy. However, I do think that it's important to have interdependence also. Like, you don't want to be hyper independent as a woman, so, and
You called it interdependent.
interdependence.
I like
Yes,
that.
it's so important. Yes, I mean, as human beings, that's what it is, that how we work. Nobody can do anything on their own. Everything is within interdependency.
Gotcha.
But,
Tiffany,
yeah.
have you started investing yet? What's
Well,
your fears? Where are you at with investing?
I kind of slowed down when the pandemic hit. because I opened up my own online business before it hit with money that I was investing with. So I didn't really want to take the bank's money. But I'm like a little fearful just because of all the regulations that the government's like doing, and then it's just like how everything's kind of a roller coaster. I'm kind of leaning in, like putting it in property.
There you go.
I feel like
See, guys, you know, we've got financial experts here. We've got one of the biggest jewelers out there in New York. But the ladies got their thing going on too. Is there something that scares you about the market or something you don't know? What's your biggest, like, I don't know about this scares me? Be real, ladies.
I don't trust the government.
Okay.
Likewise.
So yeah, who does? Who does? But do you think that because you're obviously very very knowledgeable in this, do you think that the wealthy are the ones that are in fear? Because I feel like they're excited, like they're thrilled about the new economy.
Yeah, because money flows up, it doesn't flow down.
So I feel like the wealthy
all the money
really
they printed
are not
during
in fear.
the pandemic.
They're still printing.
It's all the quantity.
Yeah, so who is it really that feels
it all
the
flew
fear?
up. All the billionaires got wealthy.
Exactly. So
George,
what do you have to say about that, George?
I would say yes, they are very fearful right now.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because
Wealthy people, you think?
Absolutely. Well,
Okay.
not just let's be specific. Not just wealthy people, but people who are incredibly sophisticated when it comes to wealth and finance. So that, as an example, you could have an entrepreneur out there who's done very, very well that could be wealthy, but when it comes to their understanding of global macro or they're not like a hedge fund manager. They're not going to be at that level of sophistication, right? So the reason I say that they're fearful right now is because there's something called a yield curve, and I don't want to bore people to death. But
You told me about this. You said this is super important. Is the bond yield curve?
It's very, very important.
Yeah.
And it's just the treasuries. So if we look at a 1-month treasury, that's the maturity, compared to a 10-year treasury, the 10-year treasury yield right now is less than the 1 month.
1 month. Yeah.
And in fact, it's less than Fed funds.
Which
and it's substantially.
On the surface, that makes no sense. If you wait 10 years, you should get more money than waiting 1 month, right? It's just as simplistic as that.
That's right.
So that is a major issue.
That's right.
Describe why.
So the reason you have the curve invert is because these people that are incredibly sophisticated, that manage quite literally trillions of dollars globally, see a potential recession coming. And the best way to hedge against that recession is to buy a 10-year treasury or a 30-year treasury. So what ends up happening is the price goes up, the demand is increasing, so the price goes up, and there's an inverse relationship with bonds between the price and the yield. So if the price is going up, the yield is going down. So when you see the yield on the 10-year treasury go from 5% down to, let's say, 4%, the price is going up.
Okay.
Right. So the smart money is out there buying the long end of the curve. Number one, for capital appreciation, or to hedge their long portfolio, to hedge their portfolio against a recession. That's what the smart money is doing right now, and that's why you have the 10-year treasury trading at literally 100 basis points less than the overnight rate that the Federal Reserve has set. So going back to my earlier point when I was saying that Bitcoin's going up, or a lot of risk assets are going up right now, the S&P is going up because the market thinks the Federal Reserve is going to lower rates. Well, they're most likely correct. The Fed's going to lower rates, but not because we have a soft landing. It's because we have a hard landing and we go into a significant recession, which is going to be negative for risk assets. And I think that's where the market is way, way, way off sides right now. And I'm backing that up just with history. If you go back to 1950, you can see every single time that the curve is inverted, we've never had a soft landing. We've never had a no landing. And it always uninverts as a result of the Fed dropping rates, which means the stuff has hit the fan. And the stock market always declines the most after the Fed drops rates for the first time. So that's a very easy signal that your audience can look for. You just look at the 10-year yield, you look at the 2-year yield. When that uninverts as a result of the Fed dropping rates, that's when you know this stuff is likely going to hit the fan. You should be kind of risk off there and waiting for the next few months, because you're likely going to have a huge opportunity, just like we saw during the GFC and just like we saw in 2020.
Yeah, that's how I made my money. I remember someone came up to me and they said, this was in 2007, 2008, and I just started my career in finance. I couldn't fucking spell 401k. And I was a nightlife guy in Miami. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I got a job as a cold caller. I busted my ass. I started to make some money, and one of my business partners said to me, like, how much did you lose? And when the market went down 50%, I go, 0, because I don't have any money in the market. And sarcastically and sort of influentially, he says, well, now's a great time to buy when everything is sort of half off. Boom, that's how it would introduce me to investing. Now I have $1 million 401k. I learned how to invest. I have all these things going on. But yeah, when shit is at its worst, if you have some capital on the sides to invest, you can take advantage of what's going on.
I just
I
want
have
to
a
add to that.
question on that.
Matt, yeah.
I was just gonna ask, when do you predict is that happening? Because like I was like thinking about my whole bag situation on time. That might be a good time. When do you think that's gonna happen?
Usually, once the curve inverts, it takes about 18 to 24 months before you get an official recession. But all you have to do is just wait for the Federal Reserve to drop rates the first time. Because they'll likely take rates all the way back down to, let's say, 1%, 2%. They could even take rates down to 0%.
And right now, the current rates are 5.5?
5.25.
Okay, and this is the Fed fund rate?
That's right, the Fed fund rate. So all you got to do is watch CNBC and wait for the Fed to drop rates the first time. Just the first time, because they're not going to drop all the way down to 0 the first time. Let's just say they drop by 25 basis points, or they drop by 50 basis points.
So it goes from 5.5 to 5, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you know.
You think there'll be a stock market sell-off at that point? The S&P, the Dow, everything will go down?
Look, we're talking about probabilities.
Yeah,
there are no certainties. But if you go back and look at the way this cycle has played out every single time, the majority of the stock market decline comes after the Fed drops the first time.
And they're expected to maybe do it in March, give or take? When are they expected to do it?
Well, yeah, we have no idea.
Okay.
Like right now, we could be in a prolonged cycle because of the stimulus checks that went out, because of the PPP.
Yeah.
The economists call it excess savings. There's a lot of excess savings in the system right now that if it wasn't there, we would probably already be in a recession. But that said, there's a lot of indicators right now that are screaming red flag that could indicate that we are currently in a recession. And when we get an official recession is always with hindsight. So they never come. There's a government group called the NBER, and they're the official entity that says, okay, we had a recession, but they never say that we're in a recession now.
Yeah.
They always wait. Like as an example, in 2008, they didn't announce that we'd been in a recession until, I believe it was January of 2009. They said, oh yeah, by the way, 9 months ago, we went into a recession.
Yeah,
FYI.
everyone's like, thanks, buddy, we're aware. Everything just fell apart around us.
Exactly.
But learn the name Jerome Powell from the Federal Reserve if you're just kind of new to this money game and you want to get better. That's the chairman
so
of the Fed, and that's the
there's
person
kind of a
I would talk-
meme right now called T-bill and chill.
T-bill and chill.
T-bill and chill.
It's like the new financial Netflix and chill.
That's right.
That's T-bill and
That's
chill,
right.
yeah.
And I think personally that's a fantastic idea because
I think most guys would not get laid if they told a girl, let's T-bill and chill. Girl, she's like, I don't. Maybe a T-bone and steak. What were you going to add, Max, before I move on to the next
you know,
one?
there's something like if you're waiting to buy when the stocks go down, that's also dangerous business because there's another reality that, I didn't hear George mention. And that's that, the national debt is about $34 trillion. And just the interest on that, just the interest is $1 trillion a year at this point. So they're obligated to print $1 trillion a year no matter what, right? That's vast amounts of printing. All that money's got to end up somewhere. Sometimes it ends up pumping up stocks. Things are super overvalued. Any problem that's going to come up from, they're cutting the rates, they're raising rates. Any problem that they're going to come across, their last resort is going to be just to print more money. Okay, so that's really the danger here for me. That's what I see. That's what I'm watching out for. I buy some stocks, and if they're a good value, and I'm not scared if they're going to go down as good, solid companies or whatever it is. But the real fear and the real danger is that they're running out of ideas. They should have did their recession a long time ago and waited it out, cooled things off. But now they're just red hot. And if they're going to keep printing money, it's going to be a bigger problem.
So, right, but
even though
let's be clear, they're not printing money.
They're not?
No. In fact, M2 money supply has gone down over the last 6 months.
Right.
Is that quantitative easing, quantitative tightening?
Well, why is the national debt $34 trillion and it was $33 trillion just 4 months
ago? But how are you've got to define money printing somewhere. Are you defining money printing by the amount of currency units?
I'm defining it by the national debt going up and, that money's ending up somewhere.
Yeah, but so let's assume that the government spends $1 trillion. If they borrow those $1 trillion, that's not a new $1 trillion. Those are $1 trillion that they took out of the system to spend back into the system.
Oh, okay.
So on net balance, M2 money supply hasn't changed.
Right. So
this is the tightening that they did after all the easing?
No, look. Let's say the government has a $1 trillion deficit. To his point, which I would totally agree is not a good thing, right? And is unsustainable. But let's just assume that they have to borrow $1 trillion. So they're going to issue $1 trillion worth of treasuries. The national debt is going to increase from 34 trillion, let's say, to 35 trillion. But that isn't necessarily creating new currency units, because what they're doing is they're selling the treasuries, and you add them. You want to store a value. You want a T-bill and chill. Mm-hmm. So you're saying, sure, I'll take those treasuries at 5.5%. So you're giving them money out of your checking account. That's going to Janet Yellen. She's putting it into something called the TGA.
She's the Secretary of the Treasury.
That's right. That's the Treasury's checking account at the Fed. It's called the TGA.
She's balling.
And then what she's doing is she's spending the currency units back out into the market. That's going back into someone's checking account. So on net balance, that whole round trip, there isn't an increase in the amount of currency units. Now, if the Fed is buying or a bank is buying, that's a different scenario. That's going to increase M2. But government spending in and of itself does not increase the amount of M2.
So free money, guys, is pretty much what it is.
Look, I'm going to take a transition, but I'm going to focus on Max for a sec. By the way, this little Q&A thing, that was cute. That was nice.
But I would agree with him is it's going to increase velocity. And I don't want to go down that route.
But let me give Max a shout out right now.
That could have the same impact as to what he's talking about.
Gotcha. I'm going to give Max a shout out real quick. So this little conversation I think was helpful for the audience.
Sure.
But, yeah. You're no stranger to some drama.
Sure.
To some beef.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
F around and find out. People are going to find out. The latest person who's finding out,
right,
of all people, is Logan Paul.
Right.
So, this guy right here, Max, I tell you, in person, sweetheart. But online, there's always something going on. So we covered Logan Paul. I made a prediction that I think this guy at one point is going to be the biggest WWE star. He's basically retired from boxing. He's going all in on his WWE thing and his podcast, Impulsive, and he's all about his Prime energy drink. I think they just sold 1 billion units.
Yep.
So what happened with you? He asked you to make some gold Prime bottle.
So first and foremost,
and he fucked around and found out, I guess. What's the deal?
I suppose you could put it that way. So I mean, first and foremost, Prime and Logan Paul and that whole team, they spent $2 million with my company. So the only thing I could be is grateful, right? Right. Just like you invited me here. You invited me to this big party. What kind of a jerk would I be if I now, had some sort of a conflict? The only thing I want to be is grateful. All right? So I'm grateful to Logan Paul, and I'm grateful to Prime. $2 million is a lot of money, and I made a good chunk, and it was a extraordinary prestige to my business, and I still got about $1 million of their gold that I'm refining out of that copper that they did. And they're trusted.
Roberto, you have a picture? Go ahead.
Yeah,
and they did the Prime bottle.
Yeah,
for that pro. That's cool.
Yeah, and they trusted me with all this money, all this gold, and now I'm refining it all back out of the copper. So I'm very grateful for that.
Because they had to melt it, right?
Yeah, they did melt it, and they did.
Cool. Is that what you made?
Yeah, that's us.
Oh,
and
cool.
If you see the bottom of it, that's actually our logo on the bottom of that thing.
Gotcha.
That's our shop.
So then what's the problem? It sounds like you're grateful.
What's the problem?
Yeah.
Everything was great, and I finally did the bottle, and in order to get this bottle done, even my team had to. Dare I say, take it across the border to Canada because they had to fly it to London. They flew it in on a private jet to the London bottle, all sorts of crazy stuff, and we did it all, and everything was fantastic. And then they had the bottle in New York City. That's our company logo right there.
Nice.
Oh, very cool.
They had the bottle in New York City, and with the timing, I didn't really get to do my video with it to make my commercial. So I'm like, all right, I'll go down to this event in downtown. And I'll just go, we made the bottle. We did great business. I'm sure they're going to let me go behind the fucking rope. Dare I say, I'm sorry for my language. And let me see this bottle. so I could just do my little thing, you know? I go down there, kids are waiting in line. They're all jumping all over me, give me free gold, give me free silver. I'm like, hey, guys, I walk through the back door, and then there's a guy, and I don't even want to mention his name anymore because I really beat him up, okay? It was a manager over there, you know, his first name's Matt, whatever. So I walk in there, and I'm like, hey, man, you know, I just want to see the bottle real quick. You know, I made it.
Yeah.
Okay, I made the goddamn
So you
bottle.
let him know who you are.
Yeah, he knew who I was.
Oh, he knew you?
Yeah, of course he knew who I was. You know, he knew I made the bottle, and I'm like, he's like, oh, nobody skips the line, he says. He's sitting there, and I don't even want to put him on the spot, but I'm going to have to because I have to explain the situation. He's sitting there with some girls. He wants to look like a hot shot. You know what I'm saying? So he's telling me, and, you know, I don't know if you got a girlfriend, whatever. I'm sorry, Matt. You know, I got to explain myself here. In my opinion, he wanted to look like a hot shot. And he's like, nobody skips the line. I'm like, listen, you guys wired $2 million into my account. He's like, I know. I wired it. I'm like, you wired it? Okay. But I'm like, listen, man, these kids are jumping all over me. There's a million people outside. He's like, first and foremost, there's not a million people, and nobody skips the line.
Oh, the old, oh, man.
And I'm like, I look at him. I'm like, this 14-year-old kid's outside asking me to take a picture. Now I'm going to go back outside and stand in line to go see the bottle I made.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so he had an ego trip or whatever it is. I'm like, you know what? I leave, and I just start getting angrier on the cab ride back. I'm like, you know what, Matt? You know, go fuck yourself. Right, waiting in line, this, that, next time, and I just go off and on and on and on, and I'm you know, and I still have like $1 million of their gold in my office, or $500,000 at that time. And I get back to my office and I grab this big brick of 20% gold and 80% copper. It's like this that they tested and I'm like, you know what, Matt? When you need to come pick up your fucking gold, come wait in line in my fucking shop. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I went off, and that went a little viral. And they all had a good laugh about it. And, you know, Matt is probably hiding under the covers till this day because of that. And I wish him well. And I don't even want to hurt the guy's feeling, but I don't even know why.
What did Logan have to say about all this? Because there was a clip. He did something. I don't know if we have that, but
yeah, he was laughing, man. He was laughing. They all enjoyed the shit out of it because they knew what it was. But the only funny thing was, you know, to Logan, this guy Matt is a sweetheart. But as soon as these guys get out, he's a tough guy, hot shot. And you know, he you know, like, again, I am a nice guy, and I want to be a nice guy. I want to be respectful. That's number one. I'm considerate of any opportunity, and I'm grateful for anything. And some people take advantage of that, and they think, oh, this guy is soft. I could go tell him to go fuck off or stand in line or do this and do that. That's a very big mistake with me, you know, because all that niceness now reverses, and now I'm throwing you out the window. So that's really what happened over there. But shout out to Prime, you know, and I appreciate the opportunity to do business still. And drink Prime, guys, because, you know, that was a lot of money.
You have a clip that you want to play? Okay, this is Logan Paul, I guess, talking about the situation.
Yeah.
You see tracks, New York City, call out one of our Prime employees.
But this guy, this hot shot. So Matt, come pick up your fucking gold, motherfucker. Get to the back of the line. No, you don't get to the back of the line.
Terrence Crawford, Logan Paul, KSI, Alexander Volkanovski, Israel Adesanya, UFC champs.
Prime bottle, didn't print all the way. Solid gold, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We're gonna have a lifetime AK-47.
I'm not nobody. I broke it.
Pride cometh before the fall, bro. Gold. We don't need anybody. We don't need celebrities. We don't need any fucking bullshit. I'm back to conduct.
His life's over because the tracks.
You know, there's a million people standing out there. They're jumping all over me. He's like, first and foremost, there's not a million people, okay? And no one skips the line. I was like, okay.
Gotcha.
That is so
So Matt's life is over.
Yikes.
No, I hope it's not, Matt.
Okay.
You know, there's plenty more business to do, and I'm sure you're a very competent business person if you're watching. And I don't want your life to be, you know, hurt in any way. You just got to be considerate of who you're dealing with, man. I don't know what
There
to
it
tell
is. Well,
you.
I'm going to make you one promise.
So funny.
So, you know, we're throwing a big party tonight.
Right.
The Soho House in Miami Beach.
Right.
PBD, myself, our whole team. George is going to be there. You're invited. A lot of celebrities, a lot of influencers, a couple billionaires, some politicians, lovely ladies, dates. you're going to skip the line.
I was going to
brother.
say, don't make them wait.
You're going to skip the line.
Listen, I have no
I'll be
problem
there.
waiting
Right
in
on
line.
in.
Just not behind
Some people
14-year-old
do
kids,
skip
bro.
the line, Max. Of course, people skip the line sometimes.
Right.
Okay, if you made the gold prime bottle, I think that's
Good enough to say.
good enough to skip the line. So, respect to you. Thank you for
I
sharing that
appreciate it.
story.
Thank you.
Logan, you're welcome to skip the line to come on the podcast anytime, buddy. When we interviewed Andrew Tate, he had some choice words for you, but I'm here to be a moderator, an arbitrator of truth, so you're welcome. But I believe we are in touch with their team. 2 more stories before we wrap up, because we do got to get ready for a party.
Yeah.
We'll do one relationship type thing.
Okay.
We'll end with the financial type thing. And then we'll all go have a great time tonight. So, popping the question. Engagement. You work in the jewelry business. You know, you guys are ladies. I assume you're all going to want some rings at some point, you know. It is the gentleman that typically buys the rings, proposes, pops the question. So there's been some, let's just say some viral, memorable engagements recently. This isn't the most viral, but I think it just sets sort of the tone of what the hell people will spend on engagements. Earlier this year, did you see what Jeff Bezos did? He proposed to his now fiance, Lauren Sanchez, on his $500 million super yacht in the south of France. I believe we have an image. She says that when she opened the box, there was a 20-carat ring worth $2.5 million chilling in there.
Damn.
And then she proceeded to black out a little bit. I get it. But
And by
friendly
blackout,
advice.
do you mean she got a black boyfriend on the side?
That's right. You know, she's using Jeff for certain things, but she's got other things going on.
I hope not.
Friendly advice to Jeff Bezos, because he's constantly hitting me up for dating and relationship advice.
Yeah.
It's, you know, when you're an Amazon Prime member,
Right.
they do these types of things. Here's my advice to Jeff Bezos. There's 6 letters you should look into this time. PRENUP, prenup, because his last relationship, he ended up giving his ex-wife, Mackenzie Bezos, $30 billion. She became the richest woman in the world at that point, I believe. So
Yes.
if this thing don't work out with Lauren Sanchez, make sure you have those 6 letters, prenup, spelled out very efficiently this time, Bezos. I feel like there's a lot of lawyers that are basically in his corner to make sure that doesn't happen this time. But that just sort of set the tone for what's going on here, because there was a regular dude, one of us, one of these guys out here that wanted to do something memorable for his woman. He couldn't afford a $2.5 million engagement ring or even a $10,000 engagement ring, but he wanted to do something nice for his lady. And this thing went viral. So a man animates himself and his girlfriend into Sleeping Beauty, an unbelievable viral proposal video. Didn't you guys see this?
No.
Yes.
Okay, so you see that, you see the thing right there. Here's what this guy did, and then we'll have a conversation of really what you lovely ladies are looking for and what the dudes with the money and the gold are willing to basically do for your affection. So let's play this clip. I believe we have the video. Go ahead, hit the volume.
With her boyfriend, but what she didn't
Volume
know
up,
is that her
Jeremy.
boyfriend had been working with an illustrator for 6 months to animate himself and her into the movie. She then started to realize that the characters looked a little familiar, and then a character pulled out a ring to propose. But he closes it and then tosses it to him, where he says this.
Every day you get to propose to your high school sweetheart. So I just want to take my time. Hey, excuse me, do you mind? This is kind of a big moment.
Oh my god, these poor people.
They're all in on it.
She then realizes that the entire theater was filled with her family and friends.
Will you live happily ever after with me?
Yes.
One of the greatest ideas ever for a proposal, and then the movie played Celebration and ended it with this. This girl thought she went to the theater to watch her favorite movie.
So cool. The guy delivered,
boyfriend,
no
but
doubt.
what she
So we had this conversation. Even on the last time you were here, shout out to Janelle Gordon. She taught me this, that there's a difference between presents and presents. Like buying your girl something as a present, or being there for your girl and being present in the moment. And I always tell men out there that there's 3 P's a man has to be for his woman, and that's to protect, provide, but also be present. Because women, and this is something I'm dealing with, are very emotional creatures. Whereas us men, we're very logical. Here's what the fuck happened. Here's what we did. This is what we're doing next. C'est la vie, we're moving on. Why did it happen? Who's going to happen? What's going on? How did you feel when it happened? Very emotional creatures. So us men are from Mars, women are from Venus, so we're dealing with this. Teeing this up for you ladies, this. We just talked about Jeff Bezos spending $2.5 million on an engagement ring. Obviously, the average guy isn't doing that. We just talked about this guy basically renting out a theater, animating himself. He's Prince Charming. She's Sleeping Beauty, all types of wild stuff going on there. He's basically hitting up the Disney Channel to help his engagement. Most guys aren't doing that. But most guys do want to spend some money on a nice ring or nice jewelry when they're ready to propose or settle down with their girl. But they also want to do something maybe nice and memorable. So none of you ladies are engaged yet. You're all out there in the marketplace. What's your ideal proposal? Would you rather have a really fat-ass ring, but it's sort of done in a nice way at home, at a restaurant, whatever? Or would you rather have a very, very memorable, wild, elaborate engagement opportunity, but the ring is just sort of normal and average? What's your ideal situation? By the way, there's someone watching right now.
I would rather definitely have more of an intimate type of engagement. I think growing up with like watching Disney, you're like, oh, the big dress and the wedding, it's exciting. But as you get older, you value different things. I think I would definitely be more of an intimate type of proposal.
So intimate meaning small. So you want a big ring.
Yeah, if you want me to be honest, I would like for my wedding, if I could pick, I would like a nice ring, and I would like a nice dress, and I would like it to be intimate. That would be what I would want.
So you want a nice ring over a viral, memorable moment type of thing.
For sure.
How about you, Janelle?
I would definitely like the ring, but I would want something very adventurous. So not necessarily so much like extravagance in front of a ton of people to show off, but kind of like something maybe a very adventurous.
A hot air balloon.
Hot air balloon.
There you go.
Pass out.
Okay.
Yeah, my sister just got proposed in a hot air balloon, actually.
Really?
How'd you know?
They should.
Like a mind reader over here.
Yeah, so something like that, adventurous, but definitely a nice ring.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily have to be such a huge, extravagant wedding, but yeah.
Got it.
It's like a nice little like stay away.
Gotcha. It's like a chastity belt on your hand.
Yeah.
Tiffany,
I like
memorable moment or a fat ring?
I like a memorable moment. Like, I'm very simple. If a man spends money on me, I want it to be like what he's comfortable with, what he thinks represents our love, our connection. I mean, to be honest, if like we're both jumping out of a plane and he's just like fluttering in there, in the wind with the ring open and skydiving, I think that would be cool.
Okay. Yeah. Good luck with that one. We're just gonna jump out of a plane, bring the ring on the plane with me, bust it open midair, hope that the gravity basically gives us a second to propose.
But if you think about it, though,
somehow get down on one knee in the air, safe landing. Talk about a soft landing.
Look,
you can manage it.
If you survive,
yeah,
it means you're meant to get married. If you go flat like a pancake, go out.
Listen, if you can survive this jump without a parachute, I'll marry you. If not, I get the life insurance and the ring.
Exactly, man.
No, but I think it's also you have to consider.
Watch out for these ladies, y'all.
What do you deem as a memorable moment? Like for me, a memorable moment doesn't always have to be extravagant. A memorable moment is like being present with people that are important to me, and to me, those are moments I remember the most.
Okay. So you don't want your man animating himself into like Aladdin, being a fucking genie, pop out, you're on a magic carpet ride, boom.
No, I'm okay.
Okay, just buy a nice ring. Guys, a couple more questions for you. All right, and then we'll do one last story here. Each question is going to be a little bit harder than the next. Okay. We just described what your ideal proposal ring will look like. Now, here's the next one. How much should your man drop on the ring? Tiff?
I'd say whatever he's comfortable with. I mean,
give me a number, though.
That's very sincere of her, though.
I mean, like,
that's the right answer.
Here's a Fruit Loop, baby.
No, I mean, like, I'm not asking him to be like, oh yeah, can you give me a ring pop and stuff? But it's like, I want him to spend what he's comfortable with, because it's like my love doesn't have a monetary amount on it. But it's about the person.
That's cute, and I appreciate that. But that's like saying, how much do you want to spend in rent? It's like, well, he can just spend whatever he wants. No,
No.
rent
It's not really-
costs
No.
a minimum $1,500
But I'm not-
to
I mean,
have
like,
a place. So
something
give me a
pretty-
number. Give me a minimum.
Have you gone to look at rings before?
No, I haven't because
So
I
that-
actually
so
I
that-
haven't really met someone that like.
Give me a number,
that I
Tiff, so I can move on.
I don't know. We're gonna say like that girl $2,000 to spend on me. I don't.
Okay,
I don't
$2,000.
know. I don't really
All right,
like.
yeah, this isn't a trick question. You can say any number. Janelle, what's the number that you think a man should spend on a ring?
I think a ring should be his choice, but I prefer assets over a ring.
Okay.
I would take more the route of like land or.
She wants land for a ring.
Yeah.
But I still want the
Listen, you
ring.
don't have to buy me a ring. Just buy me a house. Oh, okay. So I'll spend
Several,
$1 million
several.
on the house, but not
So
the
yeah, but
couple grand on the
definitely a ring. But I would say.
Why are you girls so not committal? Just saying a number.
50K.
50K.
Yeah.
There it was, ladies and gentlemen. 50K.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
You just said.
I know,
Why
he
don't
just
you
said a
say a
number,
number
and then
and
I
she
said-
says a number? You're like,
All right. Before I reveal how much people spend on rings, Nat, how much you want your ring to cost?
I don't really know how those things are like
Jesus
measured. I went to
Christ,
see
say a number,
rings.
ladies.
I think, and I suggest to go look at rings too, because you can think a ring is a lot of money, and the
Hey,
ring that
Nat,
you like
here's
doesn't.
a question for
anyway,
you.
sorry.
Say the number.
Okay, I would say if I was to give a number, maybe like between I don't know, 5 to 10.
5 to 10.
5 to
Okay.
10, I would say.
So we have a Fruit Loop. Doesn't matter what it costs. You got a 50K ring out there, and Nat, after pulling her teeth, said 5 to 10 grand.
Upgrade your ring.
Here's some fun facts
love
for
you
you
more.
guys,
Very
because I
sweet
bought a
of
ring
her,
before, by the way, which is going to be the next question. By the way, a 1 carat ring these days costs about $5,500. Most couples spend over 6 grand, and only 7% of people spend over 10K.
Okay.
I spent significantly over 10K when I got the ring, but here's the trick.
You
I
took
got
the
that
ring
shit
back.
back.
I was gonna say you
Yeah.
got it back.
Got that shit back.
You got it back.
We're
Round
back.
of applause for
Assets
the
over liabilities. I'll take
Stop
applause. It's
Would you do
okay.
it again? Would you spend that money on a ring like that again?
I'd
for a
probably
girl you
spend
like?
more, but the prenup will be a little more
Okay.
ironclad.
Right.
Fair
Here's
enough.
the deal.
Right.
Ladies, I said that each time, with each question, if it doesn't work out with your man that spent $50,000 ring, to spend a $5,000 to $10,000 ring, to spend a $2,000 ring, all good. Would you give the ring back, Janelle?
That's a good question. Probably not.
No, why not?
Well, because it was a gift, and I think that
It
when
was
you
a
can-
gift to marry you, but he didn't marry you.
Yes, I think that would have to be determined between that person and I, because I would have to see where his values are and what his opinion is on that also.
Got it.
But there's some men that have let the woman keep the ring, so it all depends on the man.
Okay. But what would you do?
I'll let him have it because I don't need his money.
Okay. Well, it was only a $2,000 ring anyway.
I mean, I don't care about the money on the ring though.
Means,
Okay, so you give it back. You're keeping that shit, putting a down payment on the house that he should have bought you instead of the ring. All good. Now, what are you doing with that ring?
if he asked for it back, I would give it back.
Right.
Yeah.
And if my new person I'm with was like, "Why do you have that?" I would give it back.
Okay.
I would keep it if they wanted me to keep it out of, not I want to say a reminder, but a representation of what it was, and a lesson. But if they wanted it back, you can have it back. I don't want to hold your money. I'm
okay.
good.
So last question, guys. We talked about your ideal proposal. We talked about how much a guy should spend on a ring. We talked about would you give it back. This is actually a simple question. It's probably the hardest answer. What are you going to do to get a ring? Janelle, go ahead. What are you going to do to get that ring?
Well,
A
I think that this is-
$50,000 ring.
I think.
What does that mean? Less, more effort?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's so
This isn't a
much.
trick question. I want to
Yeah.
hear the answer.
I don't think it's so much what are you going to do. I think it's more who you are. It's not that you necessarily have to do so much, because there are women that probably have done the bare minimum, as in they don't cook, they don't really clean, but they're always genuine and
But they also don't
authentic.
talk.
A man wants his piece.
Right,
No,
right.
so certain ladies, maybe that was the opposite right there.
Right. It could be. I mean, it all diversifies, but I think it's more about who you are and your character, your integrity.
But that's what I'm asking, Janelle. Your character, your lovely presence, your amazing skill set. I want to
Yes.
hear how you are going to get the ring.
I don't have a plan for that as far as what am I going to do. I don't really think about what should I do to get that ring. I just embody who I am, and I attract whoever that man is going to be parallel to that.
Gotcha.
It's not so much, I don't have a plan like, who am I going to pretend to be? What strategy am I going to put in place? I just work on myself, and I surround myself with the type of people that I am as well. And that's where my significant other will be. The same way with a man.
Respectfully, you gave an amazing answer earlier
I guess
in the
maybe
show.
just cook an amazing meal and, like...
No, I don't mean it like
want me to
that.
say?
Respectfully, you had a whole metric system to going out on dates and why you're dating and intentionality.
I don't have a metric system.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I was saying
Alright.
that woman has a metric
Gotcha.
system. Yeah.
Okay. Tiffany,
Well,
let me read this question. How are you going to get that ring?
She's got a plan. She's got a plan.
Let's hear this thing.
well, I would definitely be an asset. I would put myself as an asset and not a liability. I would obviously feed him because I'm Italian, so I like to cook. Make sure his clothes are clean. I'll take care of him because he's taking care of me.
Gotcha. So you're just going to slide right into that submissive housewife
I don't
role.
think I'm going to be sliding right in. I mean, you men are complicated creatures sometimes. But, I like to be like a man's piece. I don't like to bring him like drama. I like to bring memes and jokes, but also, too, I don't like being a clown. I mean, I want to be his like lady. I don't want to give him a headache. And I want to be the co-pilot.
Gotcha.
Pick
Nat,
up the slack.
Yes.
what does this say right here? Read this next question.
How you gonna get a ring?
How you going to get a ring, Nat?
Honestly, I think it's just gonna be staying close to my values, staying close to my family, staying close to people who are good examples, and then from there, finding, someone, and maybe I'm with someone who's able to, find that valuable and for them, and they'll want to marry me. So yeah.
Bringing those values.
Yeah, it's going to include cooking and cleaning, but you're going to do that either way.
Right.
Like,
Lady.
that's not, to me, like a woman cooking and cleaning. Like, that's not like, put a ring on that. Like,
Right.
that's
So many
standard.
women
Like,
do
you don't
that
cook for
already.
yourself, you don't clean for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, like, an operating
Well,
human.
what would you put
Why
a
is
ring
everybody
on?
getting so defensive
What
here? I
would
just want to
you-
know you're going to get a
No,
ring.
for me,
What
cooking
would
and
you
cleaning
do
is
to put a ring on?
automatic.
What am I going
Right.
to do to get a ring? Well, I'm going to cook. I'm going to clean. I'm going to treat my man right. I'm going to do all the things he wants me to do. When he tells me to shut the up, I'm going to shut the up. I'm going to do whatever he says. I don't know, but this is for you to determine.
What would
But
you
let's-
put a ring
Let's
on?
this is why I'm going to ask the men
I
the
do want to
question.
say something else. One more thing. I think it's also important if you're looking to get a ring, you're showing a level of support to your man. If
Yes.
you are expecting him to take on you as a responsibility, he has to know that you have a level of support for him and his journey.
You know what, now?
So,
After doing 200 plus episodes over here,
what?
it's clicking in, baby.
Wow.
Click.
You
You
gonna
got
get
it
her a
going
ring?
on.
I got you,
So,
bro.
gentlemen, you heard what the lady said. What they're looking for from a proposal, what they're looking for, how much for a ring, some more than others, whether they'd give the ring back, but more importantly, what they would do to get a ring. Factoring all this stuff in, Max, George, what would you spend on a ring? What are you looking for in a wife? Open-ended question. Go ahead.
Well, I'm 50 years old and I've never been married, so I really don't know what the price range is for
Gotcha.
a ring.
Wow.
I'd probably try to find something that I thought looked good, but I wouldn't have. You know what I'd do is I'd call my sister.
There you
Okay.
I'd
go.
probably have her pick out the ring.
Do you see yourself ever going ring shopping?
I would never say never, because again, there are
Okay.
no certainties, there are only probabilities. But I would say the probability is low.
What a
Really?
romantic answer.
Do you want to have kids?
Yeah,
You do.
yeah,
So, George, I look at you. I'm 42. You said you're 50 now?
yeah.
God bless. When I met you, you were probably 47, 48. We met, 2 years ago with Rolo? I'm certain that I want to have kids. Certain. Now, do I want to get married and deal with the government and get that ring back like I did last time? That's also, but I would like to have, I don't want to have a bunch of baby mamas. I don't want to be an NBA
You want
athlete.
a baby mama.
But I would love a baby mama, and I'll treat her great, all that fun stuff. So give me what you're thinking, because when, I have this is what I say all the time. I'm in a world, especially in Miami, where a lot of my buddies are in their mid to late 30s, early 40s, super successful, super good looking, established, status, network, And we're all kind of having this dialogue, like, all right, like all our buddies got married when we were 30. Now we're like, all right, what's next? Do we want to be the, old guy in the club? Is that good? Is that bad? Is it too old to have kids or not? Like, you're 50, you're 6'4", how tall are you?
6'4".
6'4", long, lean, good-looking, multi-millionaire.
Smart, reasonable.
You're the full package.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, talk about the line to get in that club. They want you in. You skip the line, George. A lot of girls will let you skip the line for Mary. So what's it like being a 50-year-old, very eligible bachelor? Kids, wife, family. Give me the pros and cons from your mindset.
Well, I think the pro is that I've been able to allocate 100% of my time and energy on getting to where I am now. So that's difficult to do with a family, but they're trade-offs, right? It's a cost-benefit analysis. So if I had to do all over again, I would not change anything, but I realized that there are certain things that I would want in my life that I don't have. And so moving forward, hopefully that'll change. I do have hope because when I was born, my father was 59 and my mom was 32.
Wow, there's some precedent here.
Wow. So,
so you get 9 more years of fun, and then you'll figure it out from there.
I think it'll probably.
But here's actually my genuine question to you, because I'm right there with you. When I first got engaged, I was 32. We were together a few years. We, got the ring back, whatever. Found myself being started dating when I was 32. We got engaged at 35, 36, broke up. Now I'm 42. Got the money, got, some sort of status, notoriety, still in good shape, still doing my thing. Where does it end? Meaning, like, more money isn't going to make me infinitely happier. More success and status, that's great. That's awesome. Notoriety, that's part of it. But at some point, like for you especially, like, a couple more $1 million isn't going to change your life all that much. But maybe some kids will. Maybe the right woman will. So how do you basically balance those two things?
Well, it's one of the main reasons I retired. I retired in 2012 at 38 years old because I had allocated such a large percentage of my time to being successful and pursuing excellence, as Rich would say. And as Rich and Rollo say, that when you do that, the rest comes very, very easily.
No doubt.
If you've even got a decent amount of charisma. So then, but since that time, it hasn't really materialized. And so I'm very content doing what I'm doing. But you're always open to opportunities.
Here, speaking of opportunities, the more opportunities you have, the more choices you have.
There's a little bit of a paradox in that, though.
Yeah. Well, here's where I'm going with this.
They call it the paradox of choice, and I think that that's something that's real.
Right. So, like, here's kind of where I'm going with this. There was this big debate out there about whether you should take your girl to Cheesecake or not. Is it a good date spot, not a date spot? That's fun. But if you go to that Cheesecake, that menu, there's a 1,000 options on the menu.
Yeah.
1,000 options.
Yeah.
So, they say that if you want someone to make a decision, give them 3 options, let them pick the best option, move on. At this point in your life, this is just honestly me talking to you kind of without a camera right now, bro, honestly. If there's so many options and there's so much things going on, are all those options sort of a hindrance at the end of the day?
Absolutely.
Really?
I think they can be. If your objective is to get married or settle down or have kids or whatever it is, then having all those options, I think, can be detrimental.
Yeah. It's like I go to Cheesecake. I end up just walking on the restaurant hungry because I don't know what to order.
You get to a point where you go out with the gal and your patience is very, very low because you know that you have choices.
Well, nature has a system for that.
Yeah, Max, go ahead. I want to let you weigh in on that. By the way, how old are you now?
I'm 37.
37. Yeah. Gotcha.
Nature has.
By the way, you want to get married? You want to have kids?
I want to get married. I don't want to wait too long. My cousin, I'm 5 days older than him. He lives in Fort Lauderdale. He just had a kid.
Yeah.
So
how many wives?
We grew up, and it's nice to have a household. I'm not trying to, run around with a bunch of different chicks anymore. That's not really my thing anymore. But nature has a workaround to all these options. It's called falling in love. That's a system that nature designed to, once you develop a bond with a person and they don't annoy you like some other chick that's yapping or whatever the hell is going on, and then you realize you don't want to be with other people, and that's really what you got to kind of find on that end. You know, and I'm lucky enough to have, you know, millions of views, and then, you know, like I have 1.3 billion views on YouTube in the shorts. So all I need is really 5 amazing girls out of 1.3 billion people to
it's
to
a
pick
numbers
one.
game. It's a numbers game.
Yeah, it's a fantastic numbers game for me. It would be, you know, then you have to leave it up to fate if you're some other guy, whatever it is. I don't really know. But, you know, me, like, I'm trying to spend some time with some girls, and I'm trying to find it where I really build a bond with somebody that I don't really want to have to throw out the window.
Fair enough.
Got that last one right there. Yeah.
But as far as the government is concerned and that incentive for divorce, I'm not dealing with that at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, break that down.
Well, it's either going to be a prenup where, you know, there's something I will agree to. If it doesn't work out, I'll do this. Okay, but I'm not sitting here I didn't work for all this time for 20 years so I could get, you know, some girl to go and then now go take my money and go. Like, the real question I'm asking myself when you were talking about Jeff Bezos, what is this chick doing for Jeff Bezos that he's doing all these things?
Yeah,
I mean, she said it very well. You know, how can I be an asset, not a liability?
There it is.
I think it was very, very well said.
Thank you.
So, you bring up a great point, and obviously this is something you're going to have to consider if that time ever comes. Like, ladies, the jig is up. I think we've realized that men get taken to the cleaners left and right by the system, by the government, by the courts, by the judges. 98% of alimony gets paid from a man to a woman. So everyone, like every time we do the show, somebody's like, yeah, but sometimes the woman has to pay the man. Yeah, show me.
Yeah, don't marry
Mary
that
J.
chick.
Blige had to do it. I think like Roseanne had to do it with Tom Arnold.
No, you know what's crazy?
And like, the list ends there.
In the state
like men, especially men who are super successful, they're going to be super cautious bringing someone into their life, marrying them, and then just being like, yeah, take half. The young lady I was talking about earlier when I got out of the Uber, she's like, if we ever get married, I get half, right? I'm like, we'll have a checking account that you'll have access to that will split, but all the money I've worked for, all my investment stuff, all my retirement accounts, you get none of that.
Wow.
You get the money.
Ask that? That's okay.
But that's young girls. They don't know.
I have a question.
So good luck on that. Go ahead. Last question, then we got to wrap up.
In the state of Florida, though, like it's like if she's married to you for 10 years or more, it's alimony for her life until she gets married again.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I have a friend that's dealing with that right now, and it's really
I also
shitty
have
to
a friend
watch.
that's dealing with it right now.
It's so bad.
Friends that are in that boat.
Yeah, we don't have what's it called when you live with someone for 7 years or more?
Common law.
Common law. We don't have that in Florida, but we do have a situation where if you're married for 10 years or longer, that it's alimony for life.
God, that's horrible.
You're married for 10 years, you got to pay her for the next 50 years.
One statement. There's no worse feeling in the world than having some chick you loved or had a relationship take half your money and then go screw some guy that has no money.
And not marry him.
And not marry him.
Yeah, with your
You
money.
want her to get married.
Right now.
That is a
rooting
bitter
for you to
pill.
get married.
That's not a pill I'm going to swallow.
She's going to do all that. You're like, finish the game, get married. No, I'm good. I'll take my 10 grand a month, whatever the hell it is. Guys, this has been awesome. This has been fun. This has been amazing. It is now time for what we call the happy ending, right? Like Sleeping Beauty almost. So,
hey, you know, to be fair, I did 36 hours straight of travel, and I'm hyperglycemic. Natalia's fault. I'm throwing her under the bus completely for it.
We love
She
you.
wouldn't take no for an answer. That's why I had to get the soda.
So this will be a little bit different. So you're blaming your diabetes and hyperglycemia on Nat? Is that what's going on?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, we're in it together. In it together.
Well, thank you, Nat. This is going to be a little bit a different of a happy ending because usually I say, if there's anything you want to talk to, anyone to promote, I'm going to ask you a very specific happy ending because it has to do with finance and taking care of personal responsibility. So here's the happy ending for the day. So financial expert Susie Orman, she's sort of the female Dave Ramsey, if you will. She's warning about this looming financial pandemic in the United States, right? And she's basically saying that the government is not going to save you. I think we can all agree on that. And you have no one to rely on but yourself. Just like FDR said, you had nothing to fear but fear itself. You have no one to rely on but yourself. The biggest reason that she talked about is, you could pull this up, Americans now have amassed a historic $1 trillion in credit card debt. Not the best thing right now. Average credit card interest rate is 22%, as high as 29%. Top of that, there's record high household debt, rising costs of rent, cars, gas, groceries. 75% of people in the United States don't have $400 their name in case of emergency. I think that number is closer to 50%, but that's her opinion. So what's the point? She's emphasizing self-reliance, personal responsibility, what I call personal finance, and she's saying that you have to be your own financial vaccine. I'm not endorsing any sort of vaccines. It's a play on words, but your financial vaccine, you have to do it yourself. Meanwhile, it's the holiday season. There's a record number of consumers, 200 million in fact, that shop during Thanksgiving, during the holiday weekend. Yet some big box retailers, Macy's, Nordstrom, are concerned that basically people are not making their credit card repayments. This whole thing might go kaput.
Yeah.
We'll see what's going on out there. So what's my question? The happy ending. Let's help these people out here. Let's give them some advice real quickly. Everyone has 30 seconds. Give me your best piece of advice for this, your own financial vaccine. What actual steps you can do real quickly, best piece of advice for the people out there to avoid a financial pandemic in their life. Financial expert George Gammon, what do you got?
T-bill and chill with gold until the Fed drops rates for the first time and the yield curve uninverts. You can just look at the 2-year yield and versus the 10-year yield. Then step back, assess the situation, determine why the Fed is dropping rates, why the stuff hit the fan. Realize that the bigger the crisis, the bigger the opportunity. Educate yourself in the interim and then take action.
Amazing. George, where can people find you out there on the internet?
Just the Rebel Capitalist Show or George Gammon. That's the
guys.
two
If you
YouTube
want to
channels.
get smarter, if you want to get wealthier, this is the guy to follow. Max, dude, you're a wild man. I like it.
Thank you.
And you're so well behaved here. You know, that was gonna maybe you're gonna yell at one of the girls.
No,
but
I don't think so.
What's your remedy for this potential financial pandemic hitting the United States?
Look,
What's your best advice?
If you have no money, how are you going to buy a T-bill? How are you going to chill? How are you going to do anything? Your government is screwing you, so you got to stop voting for people that are telling you empty stories. The government can't help you. Ocasio-Cortez is not going to help you. None of these people are going to help you. You're on your own. So my financial advice is realize that and have some leaders that can get off your back and stop splurging in random wars or whatever it is. That's really the only advice I could give the average person, because the average person not even going to understand. I could hardly understand what he's saying. You know what I'm saying?
That's smart. That's what we're trying to break it down.
I mean, it's serious. It's complicated stuff. You got to be thoughtful about it. But if you're just working on a weekly job, you're just not going to get it. You need, at least for these people not to be parasites and liars. So I would say make sure you vote for the right people to start, get rid of your debt, and, enrich yourself with knowledge by watching YouTube and learning as fast as you can. So you could, be valuable as a human being.
Well said. Ladies, I know you're not financial experts. I know that you're not macroeconomics economists. I know that you're not making $2 million gold prime drinks. But you're humans. You're lovely ladies. You're doing something with your life. Give me your best piece of advice for your average person out there to avoid a financial pandemic. What you got, Tiff?
I got great advice. Don't rely on anybody but yourself. Don't rely on your friends. Definitely don't rely on your family. Nobody's going to be there to save you when you need it. Make yourself your own little cozy safety net. I mean, I went through it myself.
That a girl.
So I learned how to do everything myself, not rely on people.
I would say definitely to become more financial literate, and to vote for the right people, and also spend less than what you make. So, consume, but, don't overspend, because at the end you need that surplus.
Natalia Del Valle.
Yes. I would have to kind of agree with everybody. I mean, I think it's important that you get yourself financially literate, you get yourself financially stable, and you put yourself around people who can guide you as you move up into your career and you gain more money. I think being around people and finding, the right education to double and triple, and, I think that's very important. So that's my financial
That a
message.
girl.
I have
Anything else
super
you need to
chats.
read?
Yes, I do
before
have
I give
super
a wrap
chats.
up? Go ahead.
Okay,
and then
cool.
We'll wrap
Well,
up.
thank you guys for super chats. We had some great super chats today. We'll start off with our highest one, Uncle Luke. Shout out to you,
That's
Uncle
our
Luke.
guy.
I enjoy content like this. I hope we do this more in the future, Adam. You'll practice more content like this. I'm learning a lot here. Staying ahead of the financial situation here in America is extremely important. Awesome guess. Then we had a Rio. Shout out to you. I think this was one of the episodes that he chatted a lot in. He said, Sauce, love the show. The content you're putting out is changing lives for the better. Thanks for the fire content, brother. Then he did another one. This one says, from Rio again, he says, Nat, Christmas is around the corner. I'm going to need to buy one, get one on those feet pics. In a case of that bathwater
All
sauce,
right, we'll
let's
talk
make
about
a
that. Oh,
transaction.
that's right, the bathwater situation. Forgot about that.
You still owe me money. Awesome.
Actually do owe you money.
But aside from that, thank you all for joining us. You know, you guys, actually everybody came from a lot of different places,
Yeah.
so I appreciate you guys coming today. We found a lot of value. I felt like we even talked like kind of top secret with the content that you guys were sharing. I was like, what is going on? So
Yeah.
I appreciate you all taking the time to come, and thank you,
Are you gonna make
Sauce.
it rain with the gun?
Yeah, let's make it at the end.
I'll do it.
I'll say this, dude. I get smarter every time I talk to you. I'm gonna be one of those dudes that's T-billing and chilling. I look forward to having a good time with you tonight. Max, you're an absolute stud. I think people on the internet think you're an absolute psychopath. I even saw Jordan Peterson had some things about you.
No, that was the AI.
Oh, was that AI? I don't know what that was.
I was like,
But in real life, I will give you a shout out. You're a gentleman and you're respectful.
thank you.
And you're welcome back anytime, bro.
Appreciate
Ladies, we loved having you on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nat, you're doing great. And shout out to the team. I'm going to probably take a week or two off for the holidays, so we might not have a show or two for the next couple of weeks. But we're going to be on PBD Podcast. We're going to be at the party tonight, that's for sure. But we're going to be coming back better, faster, stronger, cooler, sexier, wealthier in 2024. That's no doubt. I'll say this. You got to have a game plan for your money. You have to understand what you're doing. You need to, as Max said, get the out of debt, credit card debt, $1 trillion. The average person has $6,000 in credit card debt. If you combine that with student loan debt, auto loan debt, mortgage debt, it's absolute nightmare out there. So you have to do it yourself. You need to save that money to get to a point where you can start investing, because the last thing you want to be doing is selling your investments because you don't have enough money to pay for essentials like rent and housing and cars and transportation and food and gas and everything that goes on with that. And then when you do start investing, there's levels to investing. Check out the Rebel Capitalist to kind of get some insight in there. What I did is I started with the basics, 401ks, Roth IRAs, graduated to mutual funds, index funds, graduated to REITs, in the real estate world, graduated to crypto, graduated to gold. Shout out to American Hartford Gold. But at the end of the day, we talked about insurance. You have to have insurance in place to protect yourself, your health, your life, your wealth. Make sure you have insurance. So at the end of the day, you can be what I call chillin'. And you guys are what I would say is chillin'. And chillin' is when you own your time. You can come and go as you please. You flew in from Colombia. You flew in from New York. I flew in all the way from Miami just to get to Fort Lauderdale in a 25-minute Uber. But when you're chilling, you own your time and you can make the moves that you want to do on your own time. Most people are paycheck to paycheck, have to be at a job, and they're not what I call chilling. And chilling is when you own your time. So there's levels to this thing. And I hope all you guys get to the level that these guys are at. And it all starts with being smart with your money, understanding who to vote for, understanding that it comes down to yourself. Nobody's taking care of you but you, and it starts with saving that money. So we'll see you guys in the coming weeks. Peace out.
There you go. Some money fun.
Yeah, make it rain, girl. Awesome.